North Carolina A&T and Bill Hayes try and break the jinx of Alvin Wyatt and Bethune Cookman next. It's a bright, sunshiny day in Daytona Beach, and we're at Municipal Stadium as the Aggies of North Carolina A&T come in to take on Bethune Cookman in MEAC College Football Saturday. Hello again, everyone. I'm Charlie Neal, and welcome to MEAC College Football Saturday. A year ago, when these two teams met up in Greensboro, it was homecoming for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Well, Bethune went into Greensboro and spoiled that homecoming with a 34-27 overtime victory. But more importantly, they knocked the Aggies out of a berth in the Heritage Bowl, earning themselves a bid to the annual event. The question today is, can the Wildcats be spoilers again for the Aggies, who come into today's game unbeaten in conference play at 4-0? Let me bring in my partner, Ronnie Duncan. And Ronnie, when you look at these two teams and you look at the stat line, a lot of comparisons, and they look very, very similar.
You know, you might be thinking you're looking at twins, but then the big difference is on the defense. Both teams score around the same amount of points per game. Take a look at these numbers because they are extremely interesting. 28.1 for A&T, and then you've got 26.4 for BCC. But the difference is in defense. Look at that. Rushing defense per game, 116 compared to 132. Both of these guys can stop the run, except A&T is the best in the conference and one of the best in the nation.
And when you talk about one of the best in the nation, looking at their defense, they're ranked #1 in the conference, as was evidenced by the stat line there. But Darryl Clue is the man who holds the defense together.
Darryl Clue is the glue. You might as well talk about a guy who is an All-America candidate. The reason why, last week in a big victory over Howard, 2 block punts. He's an exceptional player, and look at those numbers. They are not that impressive, but obviously people are afraid to go to his side.
But he's going to have a good game today because, of course, we know the type of option offense that Bethune Cookman likes to run, led by their quarterback, Patel Trop.
You know I love this kid. Patel, you're the man. If you can't do it, nobody can. 6 touchdowns so far this season, 600 yards, but guess what? 19 to 24 passing in the last 2 games. I think he's on target for a big one today. It should be interesting.
It's the 23rd meeting between Bethune and the Aggies, and Bethune leads the series 13-9, and they've won the last 2. And we'll be back with the opening kickoff from Bethune-Cookman College in a moment. He is sponsored in part by Priority Mail from the U.S. Postal Service, the Marines, the few, the proud, the Marines, by National Car Rental. So what are you waiting for? Let's go. Municipal Stadium, Daytona Beach, Florida. You look at Bill Hayes, the head coach of the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. School's all-time winningest coach in his 12th year. And the weather here in Daytona Beach is 81 degrees, sunny, and the winds are very light for these two run-oriented teams. The officials for today's game is assigned by the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. Our referee is Artie Cobb. The umpire is Dwight Pettiford. The head linesman is Ted White, line judge Todd Reese, side judge Moses Norman, back judge Eric McCoy, and field judge Chris Brown. And Alvin Wyatt is the head coach of the Wildcats at Bethune-Cookman College, and Jeff Rumlin is down on the sideline with Alvin Wyatt right now.
Thank you, Charlie. Coach Wyatt, today's game, very important for you. A win puts you back into the race for the Heritage Bowl. What have you told your team in this week's preparation?
Well, we're only concerned about the team that's immediately in front of us right now, and that's North Carolina A&T. We know that in 1997, 96, this man put 73 points on us with no mercy at all. So we're still thinking about that, and that's still in the back of our mind, and we're ready to play. I think our guys are ready to meet the challenge today.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck. Charlie, back to you.
All right, Jeff, and Alvin Wyatt has never forgotten that. That was when he was the defensive coordinator before he took over as the head coach at Bethune, and since that time, he has won 2 straight from Bill Hayes. So Bill Hayes has never beaten Alvin Wyatt since Alvin has taken over as head coach. And Alvin Wyatt's team booms the ball out of the end zone, and it'll be brought out to the 20. The Aggies will get first dibs on the football this afternoon. And they will go on offense. They will start Jason Battle at the quarterback spot as we look at the USPS starting lineups for the Aggies. Quasi Mitchell, Chris Kenlock, Victor Marte, Chad Mann, and John Hall up front that average 317. And in the backfield is Farmer and Mo Smith. Chris Caldwell, Darius Helton, and Rodney Bush are the receivers. This is a team that comes in 6-1. Overall 4-0 in the conference, and they keep the ball on the ground. And Eric Farmer out of Sutherland, Virginia, gets the carry. Third leading scorer in the MEAC. Came into today's game with 7 rushing touchdowns and 1 by way of the pass. Defensively, the USPS starting lineups for the Wildcats of Bethune Cookman up front. Damian Cook, Paul James, Abdul Yates, and Willie Doby. The linebackers are Dr. James and Jimmy Williams. And the secondary, Rashane Mathis, Lonnie Estes, Joe Giddens, and Jason McCoy. Back to pass on second down and complete to Farmer for the first down, still on his feet, and Farmer out to the 45-yard line. A great run after catch by Eric Farmer, who came into today's game with just 6 receptions, and Terry Doctor finally had to make the stop.
Terry Doctor had to bring down a big guy, 309 yards on the season. But what I like about this guy, he can get the yardage. 5.8. He has 7 touchdowns to lead them in the backfield.
So Jason Battle completes his first pass, came into today's game 19 of 31, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. He came in relief of Woodruff earlier in the season when Rod Woodruff went down with an injury, and he hasn't given up the job since. Here's Mo Smith, and he's running over Bethune Cookman Wildcats. Lawrence finally tripped him up, but not before he got into Bethune territory, and the ball is spotted all the way down to the 37-yard line. So here's a team that came into the game averaging 226 yards a contest rushing.
Last time I saw Mo Smith, he looked awesome, and right now he's getting off to a great start. You talk about the Hatfield and McCoys. Well, there's nothing like Hayes going up against Wyatt. When these two coaches get together, fireworks will explode. And these two teams, if you saw them before the game, they were humping, they were pumping, they were thumping. They wanted to get it on.
Second man through is Mo Smith again. Doctor hits him as he hits the line of scrimmage, and he's finally stopped by Joe Giddens, the free safety out of Mainland High in Daytona Beach, but not before a pickup of about 4 or 5 yards on the play. Make it 4.
Take a look at this, because there's a little holding there, but see, you gotta get him and you gotta wrap him down. But you saw it on the left-hand side of your screen. You can't do that, but they got away with it with the official.
They call it a 3-yard gain, make it 2nd down and 7. The ball resting inside the 35 at the 34-yard line. The lone set back behind the quarterback is Mo Smith. Back to pass. Battle. Kroger has it complete, but not much running room for Marcus Bryson, who is the tight end. Actually, Marcus back to the line of scrimmage, and that's about it for him. His 6th reception of the year. He's out of Lawrence, South Carolina, number 88.
It may be his 6th reception of the year, but when you look at this kid, he has 103 yards. It's good pursuit, but what you like about it is that when they put him in the game, he's used to catch the ball. He is their 2nd string tight end. However, number 88, anytime he's in the game, that means they're throwing to his side of the ball. And once again, you can see what Bill Hayes is doing. He's mixing up the offense. We've seen 2 very long runs by Farmer as well as Maurice, and then you see the tight end. That's something that's going to throw off this defense, and Terry Doctor's got to get it together to anchor the defense for Bethune Cookman.
Battle back to pass on the play action. Runs left. Has to throw in the opposite direction, and he's going to be swarmed over by Terry Doctor, and he gets some help from his friends on the far sideline over there.
Doctor made a house call. I called his name, and the doctor had to bring him down. And as you can see right there, Battle was looking for some action. He was looking for some room on the football field to move, but that swarming defense, they call it the Wyatt attack. We're going to see the Wyatt bone in just a few minutes. And I was talking about it earlier. The young man who's the quarterback for this team, he's put together the games offensively as well as with the run and pass. You know what happened there? He didn't release the ball. He had an opportunity where he could have gotten rid of that ball, but he chose to keep it to himself, and now they've got to punt.
Anthony Moore is the man back to do the punting. He's averaging 35 yards per punt, number 4 in the conference in that department, and not a good kick for him as the ball goes out of bounds just at about the 27, 28-yard line. So when we come back, Bethune will get the ball. USPS starting lineups for the Bethune Cookman Wildcats, the Wyatt Bone as they call it. As you look at Sarday, Brown, Herndon, Butler, and Cooper up front, they average 290 pounds. Turin Porter, Reginald Williams, and Jay Rogers, the backs, the Alvin backs as they like to be called. Eric Lash and Terrian Hubbard are the wide receivers, and Patel Troutman, number 4 in total offense in the conference, second leading rusher as a quarterback. And I shouldn't say that, and I should say second leading rusher overall in the conference, but as a quarterback, that's kind of unheard of. Normally that is related to or given to the quarterback or running backs. As we get a flag, probably going to have a little illegal procedure and a 5-yard penalty against Bethune Cookman right off the bat.
One interesting thing about Patel Troutman is simply this: you add up the yards, rushing 600.
Offside, offense, 5 yards, first down.
You add up the yards offensively, rushing 600 yards. You add up the yards as far as passing, he has over 400. So you put it together, he has over 1,000 yards. He is such a valuable player. So goes Patel Troutman, so goes Bethune Cookman. It's just that simple. You stop him, you can win this game.
From Seabreeze High, right here in Daytona, homegrown, never left. Used to hang out around Bethune as he was growing up. He's under pressure, out of the shotgun. He runs it upfield, has running room, and has finally run out of bounds in front of the A&T bench on the far sideline, but not before Patel Troutman came back close to picking up the first down. Let's watch the foot speed of Patel Troutman. A short by about 1.5 yards.
He can definitely move with the football, and he can get by the linebackers. That's what's so impressive. And he will shake you, and he will bake you. And if he does, you're toast.
And the USPS defensive lineup for the Aggies of North Carolina: A&T, McGee, Relaford, Williams, and Paler, the men up front. Here's Troutman again looking to pass, in trouble, and a flag is down, maybe holding, and it goes incomplete. Closest man and almost intercepted by Dwayne Carpenter. Let's look at the rest of the defense. Let's look at the linebackers. Sammy Rogers, along with B.J. Little, Ray Massey are the linebackers. We also have Sammy Rogers, Dwayne Carpenter. Tamel Perquette is the secondary man, along with Josh Rogers. And we spoke of Darrell Clue, who has 2 interceptions coming in. There's Alvin Wyatt, all decked out in the latest styles as normal. 17-11 is his record in 3 seasons.
But of course, the one game that he will not forget is the North Carolina A&T game, 73-6.
No question about it. But last year they went in, they were down 19-7 to the Aggies in Greensboro. And they scored 3 times in a 3-minute span in the 4th quarter. Only used 8 plays to get back in the game. They had a 4-play drive, a 3-play drive, and then they recovered a fumble, ran it in 23 yards for a touchdown. It made the difference. Here's the option from the shotgun. Troutman pitches back and turning the corner, trying to get some running room is Turin Porter, the receiver out of Birmingham, Alabama, looking to pick up the first down, and he does.
Charlie, that was an interesting play because the linebackers have to move extremely well on a play like this, and they tried to make the blitz, but what happened was Patel Troutman picked up the blitz. He gives the ball, of course, over to Porter. Porter perhaps gets it, and it's first down for...
Well, they're going to measure. I think he may be short of a first down.
Just by a nose. Just by a nose if he's short at all.
Yeah, 3rd down, and they're calling it 2. 3rd and about 2. He has to get to the 39-yard line. Remember this drive started at the 29. And straight ahead on the option again. Here's Troutman, slips down. He may have just gotten at his knee. Went down, but he is spotted at the 40-yard line, so he does pick up the first down. The turf not kind to him on that particular run, and attempt a touchdown.
The one thing about the defense of the Aggies, one of the best in the country, and they will have to move laterally from the left side to the right side. There's Troutman right there, finally being brought down. But when you consider how good this defense is against the pass, they only give up 116.8 yards a game, rushing 216 yards per game, and total defense 229. You talk about shutting it down. They can shut you down, but their job is going to be full with the Wyatt Bone today.
And they keep the ball on the ground and go straight ahead. And you're speaking of what they've been able to do. They have 14 rushing touchdowns to their credit this year. They average 48 running plays a game, and while they only average about 17 passes a game. And as you said, over 2,300 total offensive yards this year. 2340 to be exact, but 1,400 of it comes by way of the run.
Well, if you go back to last week's game against Howard University, what was impressive was a simple fact. Number 27, Darrell Clue, was able to get 2 block punts. Those block punts led to touchdowns and early scores. Before you knew it, Howard's down 21-0.
Troutman back to pass, incomplete, intending it for Porter, and he's being covered downfield by like a blanket by Josh Rogers out of West Charlotte High.
What was so impressive about that, Josh Rogers was able to get his hands on the football over the back of the receiver. That's something they have been working on all day long. As a matter of fact, when I was down there watching them as they got ready for this game in preparation, this was a drill, and Josh played the drill perfectly.
The field not looking like we've had the best footing. There was a little rain earlier in the week, little showers overnight. There was a high school football game here last night in which Mainland came out with a big victory, and so the field doesn't have the best footing. We've seen some slips earlier. Here's Troutman trying to turn the corner, and he's run out of bounds, chased out of bounds by Dwayne Carpenter out of Troy, North Carolina.
One of the reasons why number 92, Leonard Relaford, was able to get into the backfield from the defensive end position on the left-hand side, leaving no room for Patel Troutman to move, and when that happened, the defense was able to get right to him and bring him down.
One of the things that the Aggies learned from playing an option team one that they played earlier this year and lost to, that was Elon College. They lost 40-7. In fact, gave up 346 yards on the ground. They're the only other option team that they played this year.
Well, obviously the key when you're playing against the option is something Billy Hayes is doing right now, sending 9, sometimes 10 guys to the line. You can make a dangerous play there because you can leave a wide receiver dead open down the middle of the football field.
Jody Spear is back to punt it away. Chris Caldwell signals a fair catch, but lets it go over his head, and it's going to die inside the 2 at about the 1-yard line. They're going to actually mark it probably at about the 4, and that's where the Aggies will have to go to work. We have no score, and we're in the first quarter in Daytona Beach. Duncan, Jeff Rumlin here in Daytona Beach at Municipal Stadium. No score between the Aggies and Bethune Cookman. Aggies were a wing T team for 10 years, and this year they've gone to the multiple I, and they feel they're in that multiple I. They have more man-to-man blocking versus when they had the wing T offense. It was a lot of pulling and trapping type of an offensive blocking scheme that the linemen had to be concerned about. We had a flag.
It's the offense, half the distance of the goal, first down.
So the Aggies penalized for a false start. Both teams maybe have gotten those jitters out of the way. The Aggies came into today's game averaging 66 yards in penalties per contest, while Bethune Cookman was averaging about 74 yards in penalties.
You know, when you're defensive tackle, defensive end, these are the moments you live for because you're looking for the safety if you can stop them. And that's exactly what happened there, stopping that rush. As a matter of fact, they got on them big time. And that's what has to happen, putting that pressure up front and making sure that the defense makes sure that nobody gets to move the football.
Abdul Yates was the man in there out of St. Petersburg, Florida, co-captain. He was a former running back, believe it or not, 2 years ago. If you look at the punt, once again, Chris Caldwell way over his head. He had to let it go, and so far it's second down, and we'll call it 13, second and 12 rather. At half the distance penalty, here it is again, and nothing happening again for the offense as Tony Hubbard looked like the man who submarined the running back that time, Mo Smith.
Nobody got a block on Tony Hubbard. He was able to plug in that hole and take a listen to exactly what happens down the field because, man, he puts the pain on, of course, Mr. Mo.
So it'll bring up a third down, third and at about 12. The ball resting back at the 3-yard line for the Aggies. Third down conversions. There's 6 in that department this year. And look at the big hole. And almost a first down picked up on the running play. That's why Mo Smith is so dangerous. He's third in rushing in the conference with 586 yards, averaging 6.8 yards every time he touches the ball.
As long as the sticks don't move along for another first down, it's null and void. Maybe he came out big, but Terry Doctor was there with the tackle. And what I liked about Terry Doctor on that play is that he went extremely from the left-hand side over to the right-hand side to make the stop.
So again, another punting situation facing The Aggies of North Carolina A&T. That brings on Anthony Moore out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, a senior.
Offense, 5 yards, first down.
So they have another jumping offensive line person. That's created another offsides or illegal procedure penalty. And so that pushes Anthony Moore back into the deep part of the end zone. Sean Matthews is deep to receive the punt for the Bethune Cookman Wildcats. He has a chance to run this one back. Feels it. At about the 47-yard line, we get a flag, and we may have holding or push in the back. Let's see. Ball at the 47-yard line. That's a 35-yard punt for Anthony Moore. He's averaging 35 yards per punt. And the penalty is against Bethune. Preliminary indication from Marty Cobb, our referee. So this drive will move the ball, or penalty will move it over the midfield line.
Illegal block in the back, above the weight. Penalty to be 10 yards at the end of the run.
So Bethune starts at their own 43-yard line. Let's watch it. Let's see if we can see it. There it is right there.
As a matter of fact, Arthur Wilson, he's number 54. He was the guy that would have definitely wrapped him up early. He gets pushed in the back. And, of course, it hurts his tackle.
And it was Fred Flowers who was caught with the illegal block. So it is first down and 10 from their own 43-yard line. 7:01 left in the first quarter. No score. And Bethune Cookman with the football and keeping the ball on the ground. Running straight ahead. On the carry that time, Jeremy Thomas. Jeremy's been in the backfield today. Out of Daytona Beach, he's a redshirt freshman, a young man who transferred from Purdue University. Came in with a 4.0 average every time he's touched the ball. Patel Trotman. And he has Jeremy Thomas behind him. On the option, and he almost fumbled the ball. If he didn't, I believe he did. It was not a good handoff between Patel Trotman and Jeremy Thomas. Trotman never got the ball in there, or he got it in there and was trying to decide whether to leave it in there or pull it out for the option, and the ball hit the ground.
You know, once again, working on the great technique, and you will see Robert Williams. He will get inside, and he will smother. See, this is something that they work on at A&T. The Aggies are always looking to strip the football from the opposition. That's why they come up with the costly turnover in this game.
Well, you can't call that a forced fumble in that particular situation because the ball really was never in the stomach of Jeremy Thomas. So the Aggies get the ball. Will Smith trying the left side, flips and tackle. Finally was ridden down on the far side of the field by Joe Giddens. Giddens out of Mainland High in Daytona Beach.
That may be the case, but they were always looking for the football, a nose for the football. The Aggies have that. And remember, last week against Howard, they were able to penalize and take advantage of some penalties and, of course, some turnovers and turn them into points. If they're able to do this today, that is another indication how strong this defense is. You hear about Maurice Smith, you hear about Jason Battle, but it's the guys on the defense, and I'm looking forward to seeing, of course, B.J. Little. That's a good guy. Ray Massey getting the job done time and time again, and that's why they're so good and undefeated in conference play. And
Terry Doctor is ailing down on the field right now, and they're out looking at him. Terry Doctor out of South Miami High. You look at him, and the stats on him, a phys ed major, 26 years of age, preseason defensive player of the year, and has made the numbers. He's number 2 in the conference in tackles and tackles for losses. That is dropping opponents for no gain.
I tell you what, came into the game with 65 tackles, unassisted 43. If this guy goes down, it will be a huge loss for Bethune-Cookman because he is the anchor of this defense. When you consider 65 tackles coming into this game, when Terry Doctor plays well from that linebacker position, he is sitting up that middle and making sure that he can see the entire defense, and he's the man for the game.
And he's limping off, it looks like the left ankle, the left leg. That's what's ailing him now. Terry Doctor last year had 4 sacks. This year he has not been credited with a sack, but he has an interception. As I said, he's tackled a opposing running back 10 times for losses. But it is a first down for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T, who just got the ball by way of a recovered fumble, and they have the ball down at the 37-yard line of Bethune-Cookman. pitch back to Mo Smith. Mo turns the corner into the secondary, and he's on his way. Mo Smith will not be caught, and it is a touchdown for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. An instant impact right there. Terry Doctor goes out. Mo Smith goes 37 yards for the touchdown.
37 yards, and he did it so effortlessly. When you watch number 43, watch this once again, and obviously the absence of Terry Doctor was definitely there, because if Terry Doctor had been in the football game at that time, maybe this game would not be A&T up 6-0. Watch this move here. You talk about a big fellow who can move. He looks like a fullback. He is 6'3". He averages over 7 yards a carry. Now that average is going to move up. I'm talking Mo Smith. A second look at this guy. He made it look easy. Ever since I saw him against Norfolk State, I knew he was a star in the making. He could definitely be all MEAC this season.
And for that young man, Maurice Smith, that is his 5th rushing touchdown this year. His longest run was 80 yards.
Ball, celebration, unsportsmanlike against the team, North Carolina. Going to be assessed on the try.
Okay, for the point after is Darren Dawkins out of Westchester, Pennsylvania, who has hit on 19 of 22 PATs this year, ranked 5th in the conference in points after touchdowns, and that equals into 86%. But there is a penalty. Phillip's going to be assessed on the, well, I guess they're assessing it now. Anyway, it'll be a long extra point. That's what it's going to wind up being for that young man, Darren Dawkins.
Last time we did a game here, we saw some great things from the defense as well as the offense. Antonio Stanley not with us today, can't play. He's missed the excitement. Obviously, he's missed for Bethune-Cookman. But the man they will miss on defense, so evident in the last play we just saw, Terry Doctor.
And the extra point is good. So we have a 7-0 ball game. And the Aggies get on the board first. 6:04 left, first quarter. One of the surprise teams in the MEAC this season is Delaware State. The Hornets come into today's action with just 1 conference loss. Let's listen to some of this season's highlights.
Matthews could throw. Little shovel pass underneath the King. A lot of room to midfield. To the 45-40. To the 30. To the 20. He could go all the way. He will. Touchdown! King! They give to Hanks up the middle. And Hanks breaks through to the 35-30. 20-10. See you later. Kevin Hanks on board the short. Goes the distance. Touchdown! Delaware State. Lester wants the pitch on the option. The ball is fumbled. He's gone. Picked up by a Hornet. That's the save it. And you are not going to catch the save it from behind.
All right, we want to thank Dennis Jones of Delaware State for that fine video. They take on FAMU today. Could be an interesting game, especially when you talk about Del State. A lot of people look at the Hornets and say, hey, we can beat the Hornets. They see them on the schedule. Not anymore. All of a sudden, the Hornets are putting a big sting in the MEAC. And for all you doubting Thomases, let me tell you, folks, it's great football in this conference. And don't be surprised if Delaware State pulls it off.
It was a 2-play, 47-yard drive, 21 seconds off the clock. The point after was good, and 7-0. And now A&T gets the ball back. They get the ball back right at the 27-28-yard line. So another mistake by Bethune is going to put the Aggies in great scoring position on the kick return. Ahmad Blakely could not get to the football, had trouble getting his footing because the ball bounced in front of him. Let's watch it.
You know, watch this, and you will see Ahmad will come on with the football. He's playing alert football. He says, you know what, Charlie? I can turn that turnover into something positive. That's exactly what he did.
Should say Curtis Williams from Bethune is the man who never could get his feet on it or his hands on it. Couldn't get his footing, number 82. And Blakely was wise and smart enough to come up with the football.
It's Billy Hayes football. It's alert football. It's capitalizing on the other team's mistakes. He does it time in and time again.
Maurice Smith again trying to turn the corner, but this time Tony Hubbard was there to wrap him up, not let him get loose this time. But he still picked up about 3 yards on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 7. And speaking of the Delaware State team, they're 3-1 in the conference, even though they're 3-4 overall. They've made some surprise adjustments this year. They came up with a big win last week over Morgan. They beat some other schools, and they have a pretty tough schedule down the road. But I'll tell you, they've really awakened some people as far as the conferences can play. Conference teams are concerned. John McKenzie, their coach, former quarterback at Jackson State, has done a great job. Quarterback standing in there. Battle. He turns inside, cuts it at the 15 and down to about the 12-yard line goes Jason Battle. Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Rocky Mount High, and it's a first down. Watch it.
Watch him here, man. Jason Battle doesn't have anywhere to go, and he says, you know what? I got to find a way to get around, and he finds a way. Watch and see what he does here. Are you standing still, young man? Not exactly, but you're going to have to bring me down with some company. There he is, Jason Battle, the quarterback, the sophomore who came in, and all of a sudden has set a spark into the Aggies offense.
It's time to give it to the first man through, Eric Farmer. Farmer dives down to about the 10-yard line. Eric Farmer, there he is, the big fella from Sutherland, Virginia. Dan River High. It'll be second down. Gain of 2, second and about 8 for the Aggies, who already lead it 7-0. They recovered a fumble by the Bethune Cookman Wildcats, drove 47 yards in a couple of plays. We got some movement by the left tackle, Wasim Mitchell, out of New Bern, North Carolina. He jumped the gun a little bit too soon that time.
This offense, 5 yards. Second down.
So it's second down, and instead of second and about 8, it'll be second and 13. Watch the left side. There's Wasim Mitchell getting a little bit of a head start on that play.
You know, everyone wants to get off the ball first, and sometimes you can have the happy feet, and anxiety attacks can lead to penalties.
Chris Kinlock is the center for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T as Jason Battle. And here's Mo Smith. And again, nothing happening. Hubbard is there to make sure he doesn't get too far. Tony Hubbard out of Riverview High in Sarasota, Florida, had off-season knee surgery, but he's right now the team's number 2 tackler, and he's doing a great job in that linebacker spot.
When you look at this, you will see that number 42 is not the same type of player as Terry Doctor. I speak of Lydell Jackson. He cannot get that type of penetration on the offense that Doctor can. And you will see it happen time and time again. It's amazing how one player can change a game.
And again, Mo Smith, the lone setback on third down and about 10. And we got a flag again. Battle in trouble. Battle's trying to get the ball away, and he is going to be dropped down for a loss. And probably we'll see Bethune decline this penalty as Taz Redden was there defensively, along with Quentin Lewis, and it's against the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Illegal shift against the offense. That penalty. They decline it. So it'll be fourth down. So let's see if they go with their field goal kicker, Danny Dawkins, who has hit on 66% of his field goal attempts this year. 6 of 9. He's hit it for 42 is his longest. His longest is 42 yards. So let's see. And now a timeout has been called by Bethune Cookman with 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go. We're in the first quarter, and the Aggies leading it 7-0. First quarter, 7-0. The Aggies of North Carolina A&T over Bethune. The Aggies now faced with a fourth down and about 17, but they're going to try a field goal. It'll be a 30-yard field goal attempt for Darren Hawkins, rather, Dawkins, who has kicked a 42-yarder this year. And the kick is up. It is long enough, and it looks like we have a good one. and it's 10-0, the Aggies. So they've taken advantage of 2 miscues by Bethune Cookman, and they've put 10 points on the board, Ronnie.
They've done it over and over again all this season, and the reason they have a good defense that will make you create mistakes, and they create the mistakes for you, and then they take advantage and score on you. And that's what you have to have. You have to have that balance of a football team, and everyone is somewhat surprised. I mean, let's face it, starting the season, no one thought that North Carolina A&T would be this good this late to the season.
And you look at Bill Hayes on the sideline. Let's go down to Jeff Rumlin, who has an injury update on Terry Doctor. Jeff.
High ankle sprain. However, on the next defensive series, look for Terry Doctor to be back in the game, back upstairs.
All right, thank you, Jeff. High ankle sprain. They do expect him to get back into the lineup. As you look at Alvin Wyatt on the sideline, 97. He was 4-7 in his first year. Last year they were 8-3. So far this season they're 5-2, 2-2 in the conference overall. So he's done a great job in turning this program around. But he'll never forget that game against the Aggies in 1996.
73-7.
Yeah, he said they ran the score up on us.
You know, anytime, you know what, that happens in football. And let's face it, when you've got as many talented kids as North Carolina A&T has, and let's face it, Billy Hayes is the type of individual, he plays all of his kids. If you're going to be recruited by North Carolina A&T, you're going to play for the Aggies, you will play.
No question about it. On the return for Bethune Cookman, and not much running room for him, is Carlos Lawrence. And Carlos brings out to about the 21-22-yard line. There's Terry Doctor on the sideline.
When he told us, and I'm talking Rumblin, that he had an ankle sprain, the one thing I said to myself is it's going to take more than an ankle sprain to keep Terry Doctor out of this football game. He's a bad man, and let's face it, that's why he leads his team in tackles, and he's the leader on defense. There's your Greyhound plays, 5 plays. It took 1 minute and 58 seconds, 9 yards, a 37-yard field goal. Darren Dawkins, and that's our Greyhound scoring drive.
Yeah, he had some room to spare. He could have.
Oh, man, he put his foot in that one.
He certainly did.
And you know what? It was a great camera angle. Our crew was doing an excellent job.
Patel Troutman. And again, Jeremy Thomas on the carry. Jeremy runs into a couple of bold jerseys, and Josh Rogers being one of them. Number 5. There's Jeremy Thomas out of Daytona Beach. Transferred in here out of Purdue University. He's a redshirt freshman. And we're seeing more and more young men coming from schools like Purdue. We see Sider down at Florida A&M, came in out of West Virginia. We're seeing a lot of these young men coming back to the historically black institutions.
You can't over-pursue anytime you've got an option quarterback and you've got an option offense, and that's something that North Carolina A&T has to be careful with.
Troutman again has an option man behind him. He reverses his field, cuts it back in, has a block up front, still on his feet, fumbles the football, and the Aggies have it again. On the return this time, bringing it back up the field for North Carolina A&T is B.J. Little, the linebacker.
B.J. Little, one of those great defensive players once again, and B.J. is a leading tackler for North Carolina A&T. 51 tackles on the season, and this is his second fumble recovery. As I was talking about the over-pursuing of an option quarterback. Look at Troutman. He gets out on the move, but you know what? You can't carry that football around too loosely. And once again, Charlie, I talked about it at the start of the game. It's a technique for the Aggies. They always go for the football as well as the tackle, and B.J. Little was there to pick it up and take it downfield.
So 3 mistakes by Bethune Cookman in the first quarter. 2 of them have resulted in 10 points. This is the third. Let's see if the Aggies can capitalize again. 1st and 10 at the Bethune 14.
And if I'm not mistaken, all 3 have been fumbles.
Yes, they have. If you want to count the kickoff return, which was never handled, wasn't really a fumble. It was never even touched. So it was almost like an onside kick that was recovered.
Something consciously goes inside your head in a situation like that. If I'm playing against you and I know that you are always going for the ball as well as the tackle, then I'm going to try to protect that football. But consciously, I know that it's going to happen. It was really interesting when you sit there and you watch the pregame warm-ups, and this was something that Coach was saying, work on, work on, work on. So those work ethics have turned around. Just like last week against Howard, the Aggies are capitalizing on the other team's mistakes. And right now, Bethune Cookman is getting sick and tired of seeing the fumbleitis come up.
And here's Mo Smith trying to turn the corner, and they get a lot of help defensively from that right side. They would not let him turn the corner or get loose, so they're keying on him a little better now. And then it brings up a second down after a loss of about 1, 2nd down and 11 for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. But in defense of Patel Trotman on that run, he's trying to make something happen, of course, and he was actually stripped from behind. Defender did a great job coming over the top.
That's what
knocking
they do.
The ball
that is
down.
part of that technique. They do it from behind. They're not going to let you see what they're going to do. They don't hold a big sign up there and say, hey, we're going to strip the ball. We're going to make you fumble.
Well, I think he thought he
got
had
to protect that football.
But I think he felt he had more open field in front of him, and he didn't see the man coming from behind. And here's the quarterback battle, slipping, trying to get some footing. He's had some gold jerseys in front of him blocking, but there's a couple flags down, and the ball comes loose, but there's no fumble as the whistle has blown. And let's see what the flag is. Are we going to get holding against the Aggies, or are we going to get a face mask against Bethune?
One thing we do know, this is an intense rivalry. They talk about FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. Well, number 2 has to be North Carolina A&T and Bethune-Cookman.
So it's clipping, and of course, one of the big rivalries for Bethune over the years was the Rattlers of Florida A&M, an in-state school. Let's listen to our referee, Artie Cobb. It's a clipping penalty against the Aggies. He's still explaining the options to the defensive captains for the Bethune Cookman Wildcats.
This offense shows a decline. 4th down.
So they're going to decline the penalty, bring up a 4th down situation.
Take a look at the footing. And Charlie, you mentioned it earlier in the game. You talked about the rain last night. You talked about the field conditions. It was evidence right there. Game. Jason Battle was slipping and sliding all over the place. As a matter of fact, I thought he was trying to do an impersonation of James Brown. He was going to break down into a split.
So to bring up a 4th down punting situation as the Aggies are unable to capitalize scoring-wise on this turnover by the Bethune Cookman Wildcats, so they will punt it away from their own 29-yard line, or from the 29-yard line of Bethune, unless they have a fake punt here. Well, let's see what's going on here. Someone calls a timeout. Remember now, Bethune Cookman started the season with a win over Savannah State. Well, that's the end of the first quarter. They beat Morgan, lost to Howard, beat Mars Brown, lost to Delaware State, won their last 2 against Johnson C. Smith and South Carolina State, and right now trailing 10-0 to the Aggies. They're going to try, as we start the second quarter, 10-0, a field goal, and Dawkins is on to attempt one. This will be a 46-yard field goal attempt. He's already hit a 36-yarder, and it hits the goalpost, and it is no good. Just missed. It was long enough, but it just hit the goalpost and bounced back into the field of play. So they tried a 46-yard field goal, but it did not work.
Almost good from 50, man. That's pretty impressive when you consider that. But there are your first half stats of Bank of America. And look at it, the rushing yard stats. Bethune-Cookman has 43-16 for North Carolina A&T. But passing, you see that big 0 compared to the 22. First down's a huge key, 5-1, and penalties. Once again, North Carolina A&T. And, of course, there it is for Bethune-Cookman. There he is, my man, Patel Trotman.
And, again, the turnovers have hurt Bethune so far in this ball game. They came into the ball game with 18 fumbles. They lost 13. They also had thrown 9 interceptions. They're -7 in the turnover or giveaway takeaway department, while the Aggies of North Carolina A&T had lost 8 fumbles out of 12 and had been intercepted 8 times. They were only a -3 in the takeaway giveaway department.
You know, nationally, North Carolina A&T is among the tops defensively of 1AA teams.
Randall Foster in the lineup at quarterback now for the Bethune Cookman Wildcats. Patel Troutman might have gotten shaken up on that last time when he fumbled, because he was a little slow getting up, trying to scan the sidelines to see if he's just been taken out or if he's resting or gone to the locker room.
He's coming right back into the football game, and he looks wide and alert, so I think he's fine. They just wanted to perhaps clear something up. Maybe they see something from the sidelines defensively that he can do a little different. Staying with shotgun now.
Third down and 10 from the shotgun. He's the only man in the backfield right now. He's back to pass, and here comes some pressure from the Aggies up front. He skips around, and he's holding the ball a little better this time, and he gets the first down out to about the 40-yard line. Let's see exactly where they mark it. Maybe they didn't get the first down. He may be a little shy.
He may be a little shy getting that first down.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why you see the excellent pursuit. It was an all-out blitz coming in for North Carolina A&T was Marcus Whitten. Watch him. He misses. However, he's holding on to that football, man. He said, you know what? The last time Ronnie Duncan talked about me fumbling football, I can't afford that to happen again.
So they're looking at the spot. They're probably going to have to measure from the far sideline and bring the chains across. We spoke of the schemes in which Bethune has been involved in this year. Look at equipment being adjusted there by the trainers on Nick Rawls, the equipment people, to see where they or not they get the first down. Looks like he's going to be about a half a yard shy, and it's a fourth down situation. Big decision for Alvin White. Do you punt it away?
Oh, Alvin White's going for it. You know the type of personality he has. He's going for it. He's a colorful kind of a guy. He wants to win this game. So much is in this game emotionally. He goes back 3 years ago, 73-7. You know what? I wonder if the shoe was on the other foot. Would he have run up the score? There's a possibility, especially when you consider it's North Carolina A&T and Bethune Cookman.
The second most heated rivalry or rival of the Wildcats of Bethune Cookman.
But you know, rivalries are good for college football, and they're good for the MEAC. It brings out the fans. Folks are watching it on TV. You know, you read the paper here locally, they talk about the rivalry. Some people don't like to get involved in the whole thing, but you know what? It brings the emotion out, and football is an emotional sport. I love the fact, you know, both coaches, they speak to one another. You know what? They just simply want to win. That's all it's about.
On 4th and inches, Patel Troutman has his team set. Hands off. They get the first down with plenty to spare. It may be 6, but caught from behind.
See, there it is again, Charlie. And that technique, once again, the technique of getting the tackle and stripping the football, and North Carolina A&T has done it again. I've talked about it all day long. You could talk about Jay Rogers. You could talk about Dwayne Carpenter. Watch him here, number 19. Gerald Clue comes up with the football. But what I like here is that you go for the football as well as the tackle. It is Dwayne Carpenter, and that is a sweet move. He did it from the outside linebacker position. He ran him down, and when he ran him down, not only did he go for the tackle, he went for the football. It's a technique. They do it at North Carolina A&T before the game, during practice, and it's paying off. They've got 4 fumbles today. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Not a fumble. 4 turnovers, 3 fumbles.
Put it this way, they got the football 4 times defensively, and it always puts the offense in excellent position to score.
Again, they're keeping the ball on the ground. Farmer trying to turn the corner. Hubbard has him, but he still manages to pick up 3, stumbles up to about the 19-yard line, where it'll be 2nd down.
That man right there is saying, come on, can't we hold on to the football? We've got to stop these turnovers. These guys are going for the ball as well as the tackle. Put that baby inside of you and don't let it go. The next person who drops the football, the next person who loses the football is going to have a seat and watching the game closer to the stands on the bench.
And the thing is, they gambled on 4th and inches. He had a big run. I mean, they really were looking good there. And then again, they get down and deep into Aggie territory, all the way down to the 11-yard line, and they fumble the football.
Turnovers will kill you all the time. This is a team that capitalizes on it. All you have to do is look at that game against Norfolk. We showed here, MEAC Game of the Week. Norfolk comes back, but what does North Carolina A&T do? They cause the Spartans to turn over the ball late in the game, and they're able to hold on for the win.
Bill Hayes has been in the Aggies camp for the last 12 years, and there's a 10-point turnover ratio in favor of the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. 10 points off the turnover, and they're still struggling. It looks like they may have gotten the first down, and we have a fumble, and now Bethune will be able maybe to capitalize. Now they get the ball by way of a turnover. Let's see if we can see what happened there.
What comes around sometimes can go around. As a matter of fact, I thought the play may have been stopped. However, Bethune Cookman was alert. Watch it here. Eric Farmer with the football. Where does he lose it? Yes, he never totally had the football, or at least under control. And that's what can cause us sometimes a very shaky and bad handoff.
5 turnovers in this ball game so far. 4 by Bethune, 1 by the Aggies.
You see Eric Turner. You see Cook there going for the ball. Cook was able to get the strip. Damian Cook, number 95. And all of a sudden, the turnover bug is on your side of the field. Mr. Hayes.
Jay Rogers out of Deltona. He's the man back there. Troutman on the option, keeps the ball, turns it in, tries to pitch it back, and it's going to be an Aggie football, and the Aggies pick it up.
And that's Carpenter again. Look at him. He looks like he's going for 6. Troutman. Is it going to be on his side? But he's finally brought down
by Traren Porter. Caught from behind, so another turnover.
Once again, the outside linebacker, Dwayne Carpenter, number 19, Johnny on the spot, missed the alert, and we've got an official down, and it looks like Cobb is holding his shoulder.
Artie Cobb, the referee, is down, and he may have gotten run over trying to, and hopefully he's okay.
You see Troutman right there. See how he holds that football?
Well,
he's trying to get it off, with the pitch. But you see the pursuit. I mean, those Aggies are like killer bees, man. They're all over you. And look at Dwayne Carpenter, number 19. He doesn't see number 4 behind him. He thinks he's clear and free for nothing but 6 on his side. But got you by the legs. And that's how we can bring you down. But you've got to be concerned right now for the official. Watch it again in slow motion. Man, everybody is moving and everybody is making sure that when you get hit, I know your name and I know your number.
So Artie Cobb, the referee, is down. We're trying to see if we can.
Here he is. Probably see it right there. Artie Cobb, no, we couldn't see it.
Lost it there too.
Obviously, he got ran over by a player, and we just hope that he is able to get up and he's okay. It can be a dangerous game for the officials too, Charlie. You've done it. You know a lot of these officials. Let's face it, you've got to be alert at all times as an official.
No question. I think the most dangerous position in football is the umpire. Let's watch the top of your screen.
Take a look at the top of your screen.
Right here.
Watch him right here. See, he's moving with the football, and who gets him? It's the big fella.
And he goes down on the shoulder.
Goes down on the shoulder. I recognize it was a shoulder right away because he was grimacing in pain.
But he looks like he's going to try to continue. He's up. He put his white hat back on. One of the other officials.
Tell me these MEAC officials ain't tough.
There's a timeout on the field. Artie Cobb comes over. He checks out his shoulder. He seems like he's okay. We'll be back. Of the fumble by the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. There's Artie Cobb. Moses Norman will take over at the referee spot right now. First down and 10 for the Aggies. Second back through. And they keep it on the ground this time. Adrian Parks out of Goldsboro, North Carolina, and East Wayne High gets the carry. He had 92 yards earlier this season against Winston-Salem coming off the bench, spelling Maurice Smith.
Doesn't make a difference who carries the football. That's the one thing I love about the Aggies. They continue to pound the football down your throat. Mo Smith, Adrian Parks, Eric Farmer, Jeff Neal. The names keep coming off the bench, and they keep running the ball.
You know, you talk about officials getting hurt. Referee normally is the safest spot on the field. The umpire has got to be the worst spot. Mo Smith trying to bounce outside, and he gets it to the 1-yard line. Maurice Smith carried a couple of Bethune Cookman Wildcats with him to the goal line, Jimmy Williams being one of them, but he didn't get it in.
6'1", 235, man, that's a massive man to bring down Mo Smith. I've enjoyed just simply watching him, especially the 2 times we've had him on the MEAC Game of the Week. You know what? When you are that big and you can be that strong and move that well, the guys who play on Sunday are looking at you.
Third down and inches. They can still get a first down without scoring. That is the Aggies. Eric Farmer, the up back of the in the I formation, the multiple I's they call it, and Farmer has it, and he just goes into the end zone easily, unmolested, just ran over one of the defensive secondary men. That was Joe Giddens, and he takes him into the end zone, and the Aggies increase their lead to 16-0.
You know, Eric Farmer said, are you kidding me? Joe Giddens, watch here. Number 36 gets the football, and he's going to take it in. Joe Giddens, get out of my way. The end zone is my territory.
So 3 turnovers, 3 of the 5 turnovers have resulted in Aggie scores so far today. And here to attempt the point after is Dawkins. to try to make it 17-0. 10:37 remaining here in the second quarter, and it is blocked by Bethune Cookman. Coming up with the block is Antoine Robinson. So the PAT is blocked. And it remains 16-0 with 10:37 remaining. Fallstone Production stays at the Adams Mark Daytona Beach Resort. The Adams Mark is Daytona's premier resort with all amenities and the best variety of dining and entertainment. All rooms are oceanfront. Located at 100 North Atlantic Avenue, the Adams Mark is the premier resort in Daytona Beach. A reservation, simply call 1-800-444-ADAM.
Man, I enjoy that place. Every time you go to any room, they give you the best service. You know what? You get a great view. And I love the guy in the lounge.
How much they pay you?
The lounge singer? No, they didn't pay me nothing. As a matter of fact, man, it's awesome. Look, if you are coming to Daytona Beach, this is the place to go. You can see the Atlantic Ocean, sit out there, so romantic. Make sure you bring your great friend, your wife, whoever you want to bring with you. Have a great time. And the next time I come, I'm going to have to bring her because I keep telling her how beautiful it is. I keep telling her, I say, Vaughn, you got to come to this game, baby. It's so pretty. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about the Adams Mark.
So Artie is going to be taken possibly to
you know what?
Get x-rays on his
shoulder.
What?
But he's a tough guy. See, he's not having anybody hold him. He's going in on his own. He reluctantly went in. See, officials are tough guys, too. See, tough guys just don't play football. And then, of course, they're play-by-play announcers like Charlie Neal. I guess that's when you get soft, right?
No question. Don't forget, for all of your information that you would like to find out about the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, you can click onto the website at www.meacsports.com. Just click on it. With 10:37 left here in the second quarter, Charlie Neal, Ronnie Duncan here, and the Bethune Cookman Wildcats down 16-0 because of 5 fumbles in the ball game. Have the ball out at about the 17-yard line. Toss it down to Jeff Rumlin, who has an update on our referee, Artie Cobb. Jeff?
Thanks, Charlie. Referee Cobb had a slight separation between his shoulder and his collarbone. Will he return? That's still up in the air. However, he has been taken inside, has ice on his shoulder. Hopefully, he'll be able to return. Back upstairs.
Right. Thank you very much. He's gone to the ambulance. They're going to ice it down, and, of course, they are going to look at it. Slight separation. You could see the way he came down trying to trail that play.
Yeah, he was grimacing in pain, holding onto his shoulder. It was obvious to me it was a shoulder, but obviously we've got to get the official word. And Jeff Rumlin doing a good job down there. I tell you what, they're keeping him busy. Terry Doctor, and of course the official.
And there we keep the ball on the ground. Jay Rogers again, who has a fumble of his own in the contest, gets the first down out to the 30-yard line. So Jay Rogers keeping the drive running. A 13-yard run by Rogers and a 1st and 10 for Bethune-Cookman.
When you talk about this rivalry, when you talk about emotions, I got to ask you this one question, Charlie. Did you expect to see this domination so early from the Aggies, especially defensively, in lieu of what they did last week against Howard?
No, it's not domination, though. They've taken advantage of some of the opportunities that they have, but they haven't dominated the game. If you take away the 5 turnovers by the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, do we have 16 points on the board? That's the thing you have to look at. Remember, out of the 5, they've only scored on 3 of those possessions. 2, one time they turned the ball over, and another time they missed a field goal. So
that's a true point, but you know, it's just that I'm looking at this defense, and both defensive.
Yes, they have made things happen. Okay, they've made things happen from the defensive side of the ball, but have they done anything really to dominate the game as such in terms of the offensive power? They really haven't done that. They've taken advantage of some opportunities that have been afforded them.
Put it this way, with Terry Doctor out of the game defensively, things are not the same for Bethune-Cookman. Then when you look at the simple fact that Farmer or Maurice Smith have basically been able to run wild offensively, I see domination right now. I see a situation where A&T is looking so strong defensively and so strong offensively that if they take their time, they may be able to coast to a good game.
So it brings up a 2nd down situation. Ball at the 31-yard line. on the option. Here's Troutman cutting it back and diving out to the 40-yard line. Had to leap over one of his offensive linemen, Terrence Butler, there to pick up close to a first down, depending on where they mark the ball.
The one thing I'm seeing defensively is that North Carolina A&T has not been like clueless when it comes to Patel Troutman. And a lot of teams in the MEAC and a lot of teams that face Bethune Cookman are. I mean, let's face it, there's so many wrinkles, so many steps, so many different options in this offense. The Wyatt bone.
You remember a year ago, Troutman ran for over 1,000 yards. He was the second leading rusher and scorer in the MEAC from his quarterback spot. And there's a timeout on the field. Bethune Cookman calls this one. 8:44 left, second quarter. They trail it 16-0. And then Florida A&M's women won their respective titles in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Cross Country Championships today. Up in Greensboro, Bethune was led by Joseph Langut, who set an MEAC record of 25-39 to finish first. The Wildcats had 45 team points. And FAMU's ladies won its third straight title with 28 points. The top female finisher was from Norfolk State, Eva Lestisov, at 19-13. So congratulations to both the women and men. Women from Florida A&M, the men from Bethune for women in the cross-country championship. And Rogers again gets the first down, and he's out across the 45 to about the 48-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10, Bethune-Cookman. They have moved the ball. They have done a good job of taking it down the field. The thing is, they've turned the ball over. And if they can just protect the ball, they're right back in this ball game. But you don't want to have to play catch-up against a team like the Aggies. There's Jay Rogers. Rogers out of Pine Ridge High in Deltona, Florida. And again, he is in the secondary, and he has another first down inside the Aggie territory at about the 37, 38-yard line. The business administration major came into today's game. Jay Rogers, there you see the stats on him. 5 yards per carry, 427 yards. He was the first rookie a year ago in the school's history to have 200 yards in a ball game. He had 221 against Del State. He has the ball again, and he doesn't get much going that time. They went with a full house backfield.
Ray Massey was one of the guys who put the stop on them. You know, interesting numbers for North Carolina A&T when you consider conference opponents in the MEAC. They beat Howard last week, what, 51-0. They beat Morgan State, Norfolk, Hampton. They have outscored MEAC opponents, including today, get this, 166-44.
Right.
I mean, that's a defense that has improving, that when time comes up to stop people, they do it. And they've done it effectively so far today. Sure, you've seen some of the spurts here and there.
Troutman back to pass, has it complete. And we have a first down to Curtis Williams. So Curtis Williams comes up with the reception, his 7th of the year. And we have a first down for Bethune. You're speaking of those particular scores. They had 28 points against Norfolk, 41 against Hampton, 30 against Morgan, 51 against Howard. I mean, yeah, that those are teams. And I even asked Coach Hayes, I said, were you surprised at how well you manhandled Howard a week ago? He said, yes, I am. He said,
he was honest about it,
yes,
too, because of the simple fact, he will tell you, they just simply played on all cylinders. They had every aspect of their game working extremely well. And as a coach, you know, Charlie, you don't get opportunities like that often where every part of your game is basically clicking.
All the cylinders. That's right. I mean, you know, and we hear coaches say it all the time, that football is a 3-part game. It's offense, defense, and it's special teams. You have to have all 3 clicking on the same page, on the same cylinder, in order for it to be effective. It is second down. We'll call it 8. 6:35 left, second quarter, 16-0. A&T, Bethune driving. They moved into Aggie territory. Jeremy Thomas, the play action. Here's Patel Troutman trying to get loose. Still on his feet. Needs a block. Gets one. Has some running room. Now he throws it into the end zone. But it's out of the end zone, and it's going to be incomplete even if it is caught down there by the intended receiver, Curtis Williams.
All that running has got some very tired offensive linemen. You talk about guys that were trying to force off those blocks, and they were doing it effectively for the Bethune Cookman. Oh, my goodness, man. I mean, you see Patel Troutman, he's running around like a madman possessed out there, but he's still able to get off the football, and he almost, Jolly, was able to happen for a touchdown.
on third down, we're going to see another quarterback in the lineup for the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. Number 10 is in the lineup right now, Taji Parrish, and he's really not a quarterback. Taji Parrish is actually a kicker who they move around and let him do a little bit of everything. He hasn't played at quarterback this year. 6-12 the time remaining. He's the third stringer, and he's in there now. Quarterbacks in today's game, Jason Battle. There's the quarterback comparison stats presented by U.S. Airways. 2 of 2 for Battle, 22 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. And Patel Trotman, 1 of 4, 16 yards. He's also rushed for 29 yards. And Taji Parrish, who's in the lineup right now, has not thrown but 1 pass this year. That was incomplete. Now Trotman's back in there. So, and let's look at the third down conversion in today's game. Bethune-Cookman 2 of 5. Big third down facing him now. 3rd and about 8. And here's Patel Trotman. Stands in there, throws, has it complete, and out of bounds. Let's see if he got the first down. Eric Lash on the reception, but I think he's going to be way short of a first down by about 1.5 yards. So you've got to, as a receiver, know where that first down mark is. You've got to get there and give your quarterback and your team an opportunity to pick up the first down.
Going to Lash, who happens to be the speed receiver. Once again, Troutman trying to make something happen. He sees Lash there, but Lash doesn't quite get a good view of that first down mark, and the reason why he's taken to his back. He's a freshman. They say he may be the fastest person on this team, Eric Lash.
He's a freshman out of Springfield, Florida, redshirt freshman from Rutherford High. He was a runner-up, that is his team, in the Class 5A titles a year ago or 2 years ago. Didn't play a year ago.
Considering that down 16-0, there's a possibility they will be going for it.
Well, they went for it a little deeper in their territory and picked up the first down with plenty to spare. Let's see. It is shy by inches. So you see how far they have to go to get the first down. Bethune-Cookman started the season with a win over Savannah State by 17-14. Mathis hit a big field goal with 6:04 left in the game. They beat Morgan 28-25. It was an onside kick. We did that game here at Williams returned for a touchdown. They lost to Howard 31-27 in the game. They led by 17 points, but they gave up 3 touchdown passes to Bobby Townsend and the Howard Bisons in the fourth quarter. Beat Morris Ground 28-6. In fact, that game had no scoring until the fourth quarter. Trotman ran for 113 yards and a touchdown in that contest. Right now, they're facing a 4th down and inches right outside the 10-yard line of the Aggies. Patel Trotman has the team set. Is Jeremy Thomas the third back set behind him? Trotman on the keeper. It's going to be close. He slipped as he was trying to get his footing. The referee signals first down. See where they spot the ball. That is close. The referee signals first down. So Patel Trotman, who had trouble getting his footing after the ball was snapped, managed to get enough to get of a surge to get the ball closer to the first down marker and pick up the first down. So first down and 10. Ball resting right outside the 10-yard line for Bethune-Cookman. Actually, they're going to call it first and goal, maybe. So they're going to have to score to pick up a first down. Jeremy Thomas, nothing going on there as he tripped over, looks like the right guard, Terrence Butler, as he was trying to get going. Again, the footing has not been the greatest for the running backs in extreme cutting situations. Now, Antonio Stanley is in the game. There's a young man out of Jackson High in Miami. And almost fumbled the snap, pitches it back. There's nothing going on as they try to turn the corner. And Marcus Goggins was the man who got the call out of Columbia's High in Lake City, Florida. Has only played in 4 games this year, and only the 4th time they've given him the ball. We have an injured Aggie down on the field.
Troutman almost lost that snap right there, and he's clutching his knee, and you can see it right there. They are twisting Patel Troutman's knee. He's had serious knee problems all year long, and he's had to deal with that pain.
So we have an Aggie that's down. To finish a little further what Bethune did to get here, we talked about the Morris Brown game. They lost to Delaware State, and that's another game that we talked about Del State doing so well in the conference, 43-29. Foster came into that game. Randall Foster threw for 184 yards, but Delaware State's Graylin King had 127 yards and a touchdown. They beat Johnson C. Smith 26-6. Again, no scoring until the fourth quarter. They have had a couple games this year, but there's been no scoring until the fourth quarter. As you look at Lynn Relaford, who leads the team in sacks with 6.
Yeah, he's
being helped off.
Now, if this is serious, this is huge for them. The reason why, when you talk about tackles for loss, 11, a total of 59 yards. This big guy, let's face it, one of the better defensive ends in the MEAC with those 6 sacks.
And
when you talk about, they don't have a lot of guys at the top of categories as far as, defensive stats.
Right.
I mean, among the top. But as a team, that's where they are the most impressive.
Right. They spread them out. Relaford is second in the conference in sacks, 4th in tackles for loss. 11 of those, 6 of them have been sacks. 2 quarterback hurries, a fumble recovery. He's broken up 5 passes. He's out of Tampa, Florida. He's a sophomore. Then, of course, we know that Bethune beat South Carolina State 30-27 the last game that they played. Led 20-7 at the half. Trailed in the third quarter, but scored the last 10 points, and Mathis hit a field goal with no time left on the clock. From the shotgun. On third down, Troutman throws into the end zone. Out of the end zone, or they call it touchdown. 1 foot down. Antonio Stanley got his foot down, just all he needed to get it in. It was a third down and goal to go from the 13. So it's a 13-yard pass from Troutman to Stanley.
Troutman out of the shotgun, and he is looking for Antonio Stanley all the way. And watch what Stanley does. He comes back to the football. See that? Excellent concentration. Able to kick the foot in bounds.
Got that 1 foot in. That's all he needs.
That's all he needed.
And on for the point after is the young man, Danny Mathis. Danny saved the game against South Carolina State. And this kick is up, and it is no good. Off to the left. So Mr. Automatic, Danny Mathis, that's the first point after touchdown he has missed this season. He was 20 for 20.
Somebody may have got their hands on that football, Charlie. Watch it again right here. You will see a yellow jersey go up extremely high.
Pass. This is a touchdown.
This is the touchdown pass. Okay, now we see, of course, Antonio Stanley. Nice, of course, keeping it. But you know what? I think somebody got their hands on that football that caused it to go over. Because let's face it, he is Mr. Automatic. There he is, Coach Wyatt. You got to be happy, Coach. You're only down 10 points right now.
That was an 83-yard drive. And as I said, the first PAT missed by Mathis this year. He was perfect. He led the conference. As you look at the ambulance, it's Artie Cobb is a part of right now. But anyway, he led the conference coming into today's game as the leading PAT kicker in the MEAC, 20 of 20. He's also second in field goals, 7 of 11. So his first miss of the season.
We see that ambulance. I hope it's nothing so serious as far as Relaford is concerned, because that's a major loss for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Both teams have suffered injuries. Even the officiating crew has suffered injuries. They say football is a game of pain, and everyone has to have their games.
Let's look at the Greyhound scoring drive. Troutman drove his team 83 yards, a 5:37 drive, and a 14-play situation, and a 13-yard reception by Antonio Stanley. And for Antonio Stanley, that is his 3rd reception of a touchdown this year. On the return for the Aggies, bringing it back up the field is Blakeney, and Blakeney is dropped before he can get loose, shy of the 15-yard line. So the Bethune-Cookman defense, again, we talked about the fact that the Aggies have a lot of points on the board, but again, a lot of them was given to them by way of turnovers by Bethune-Cookman.
Tell you what, your point has been well made. As a matter of fact, I had Bethune-Cookman sitting in a situation perhaps where they wouldn't be able to score maybe in the first half, but it was a successful drive by Patel Troutman. You saw it right there on our Greyhound scoring drive, and he was able to move his team and got a go-to guy to get back to the game, and that's Antonio Stanley. What I liked about that pattern that Antonio Stanley ran, he basically outran his man, turned around with his back to the ball and caught the ball.
We have a penalty flag down. We're in the second quarter. 16-6 is our score. We've had a little bit of everything as you look at what happened here. May have been a legal procedure against or offsides. Let's see. Is it offsides against the defense? No, it's a legal procedure against the offense. Forget halftime coming up. Both bands are here. Of course, the Aggies of North Carolina A&T, they brought their band all the way from Greensboro, and Bethune-Cookman, and we also have some high school bands in attendance. So quite a good crowd on hand here at Municipal Stadium in Daytona Beach. 1st and 15 now for the Aggies, leading at 16-6. 4:35 remaining in the first half. Keeping the ball on the ground, and there he is into the secondary and gaining about 10 or 12 of the yards back is Maurice Smith, and that was Lawrence, or Rawls actually, who made the stop defensively. 2nd down and about 6, or make it 2nd and 4. 2nd down 4 for North Carolina A&T. Aggies for years under Bill Hayes, a wing T. They've gone to that multiple I now, and it's worked. Here's Mo Smith, caught in the backfield, submarine by Hubbard, who was the first man to hit him out of Sarasota. Young man who had off-season knee surgery. And that's another tackle for loss for him, his 7th of the year, dropping opponent behind the line of scrimmage for negative yards. So to bring up a 3rd down. And nothing happening again for the Aggies offensively as Desmond Adams was stopped by Rod Smith out of Mainland High in Daytona Beach, a redshirt senior. So to bring up a 4th down, and Bethune will have another opportunity to get on the board before halftime. So this drive that started at their own 20 is stymied right at about the 28-yard line, 27.
Smith getting into the backfield, part of that 4-man rush, and they are penetrating right through the offensive line of the Aggies.
And again, Anthony Moore with the punt. This one is fielded. Rashawn Mathis, and Mathis gets it back to about the 33, 34-yard line, and that's where they will go to work. Bethune trailing by 10, but they have the ball. We'll be back. Here in the second quarter with 2:41 remaining, and the Aggies leading. And coming up at halftime, Ronnie Duncan goes inside the NFL Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, and talks about some of the greats that played their collegiate ball right here in the MEAC. All coming up at halftime. You want to be with us for that. And of course, we'll get a chance to see the Bethune Cookman band and possibly even a taste of A&T. They have their band here also today. So the Bethune Cookman Wildcats starting at their own 34-yard line, trailing by 10, but they have the ball 1st down and 10. Here in the second quarter, Trotman under pressure, will not get away. He was brought down by Robert Williams immediately, right there on the tackle out of Bertie Hine, Windsor, North Carolina.
Once again, it's that excellent pursuit of defense, and when you are a defensive lineman, like the big fella you see right there, he will tell you, you got to back that thing on up.
Robert Williams out of Windsor, North Carolina. Didn't play a year ago because of an injury. Had 5 sacks 2 seasons ago as a freshman. Has 3 sacks this year. Add another one to that one. Second down. Troutman on the option, trying to spin out. Gets into the secondary, tries to turn the corner. Great open field tackle by, let's see, who made that tackle? Tramel Perkett, rather, out of Plymouth, North Carolina. Moved from a running back spot. Was quite a good running back for the Aggies at one point.
You know what I like about this? You see that it was an all-out blitz, and that's what can happen sometimes against a very talented option quarterback. But look at Perkett, the open field tackle, taking the legs of a talented player.
And going for the first down and getting the reception right at about the 45-yard line. Should be enough for the first down. Is, let's see, Tarian Hubbard out of St. Petersburg, Florida. St. Pete High, 7th reception of the year. And he does pick up the first down for the Wildcats. Off from the shotgun, Troutman working.
It's a timing route right there, and the reason why it was a simple drop. All he did was just simply go back, and he knew exactly where his receiver was supposed to be, and Hubbard was there for the reception.
Antonio Stanley in the lineup, in the slot, has a touchdown for the Wildcats so far. From the shotgun again, Troutman works, and he looks like he wants to pitch to Stanley, but Stanley was not there, and he decided to turn it up. And I think that would have to say that the defense of North Carolina A&T, led by B.J. Little, did a great job of reading that option play and staying and focusing and shadowing Patel Troutman, not letting him loose.
Well, that's something exactly what happened there, because Stanley didn't read the play as well as everyone would have anticipated. But B.J. Little and that linebacker core, see, they're going to be busy today because they've got to stop a guy who is an option quarterback who can throw the ball as well. They're getting his hand on the ball. The big fella, number 93. I'm talking Marco McGee. And
they tap it in the air, so bring up a third down, 12-yard situation. Another quarterback coming in. Taji Parrish will come into the lineup. Remember, he's only thrown one pass all year.
You see the big fella, number 93, going right upside the head. But see, there he is. Boom, baby, boom. Big fella can jump and even shake the room. Marco McGee, number 93.
Taji Parrish may have a stronger arm than Troutman, and he is trying to get loose, trying to get to the first down marker. Will be way short by about 6 yards. Just manages to get close to the midfield stripe with 37 seconds to go in the first half.
Arthur Williams took him down, and Arthur Williams helps to bring him up, number 54. Yes, he's playing that same Willie linebacker position with Ray Massey.
Fourth down. Bethune has used 2 timeouts already in this half, and I believe this is going to be an Aggie timeout with 18 seconds to go. Now, do the Aggies have to be thinking that maybe Bethune will punt the ball to them? Maybe we'll set up a return. But if I'm Alvin Wyatt, I'd put it up and at least go for one last play before the half.
Well, you were successful the last time they had the football in their drive, and they could do it again. Let's face it, if anyone needs a score right now, it's Bethune Cookman.
And it is fourth down. Fourth down, facing the Wildcats of Bethune Cookman, trailing by 10. Remember, all the scoring has resulted, that is, as far as the Aggies are concerned. And they're trying to get the game clock, I think, reset. All the Aggies scoring the 16 points that they have on the board as a result of 3 turnovers by Bethune Cookman. Actually, they've had 5, but they've been able to capitalize on 3 of them. With 6:20 left in the first quarter, Bethune fumbled. Aggies took it in on a Smith 37-yard run. Then on the ensuing kickoff, they didn't get to the football. That is, Bethune Cookman. The Aggies recovered, and then Dawkins kicks a 37-yard field goal, and it's 10-0. Then the second, the third, and fourth fumble, they were unable to capitalize. That is North Carolina A&T. But then in the second quarter, with 11:20 left, again a fumble, and Farmer with a 1-yard run made it 16-0. Patel Troutman 13-yard pass to Stanley, and that's how Bethune got on the board. Don't forget the Heritage Bowl coming up December 18th in Atlanta. The MEAC champion for the most part. That's where everybody wants to go. Going against the SWAC. And of course the SWAC will not have anybody in the 1AA playoffs, although this basically is teams are looking at that Heritage Bowl as well as the 1AA playoffs. It'll be between Florida A&M and North Carolina A&T right now as we get a delay of game as to which team will represent the conference in the 1AA playoff and who will go to the Heritage Bowl. A year ago, this is where A&T wanted to be, the Heritage Bowl, had their sights set until Bethune came to town. Bethune knocked them off on homecoming 34-27 in overtime, a game in which A&T had a commanding lead. Going to pull away. Not a good kick. It goes out of bounds. Not a good kick by Jody Spear. I don't know what they were trying to do. He comes to the sideline. He looks over at Alvin Wyatt. They lost yards on the punt.
Did you see the look that Coach Wyatt gave him? He was like, don't even come over here.
Looks like they lost yards on the punt.
Look, he's giving a demonstration as to what he was supposed to do. You know, the thing about it, he's animated. He loves his kids. He's only trying to get the very best out of them. That's Coach Alvin Wyatt. You know what? 16-6. Second half is going to be quite interesting. If I were you, I'd stick around.
Intercepted. Bethune Cookman has an interception, another turnover. This is Giddens. And Giddens gets out of bounds and stops the clock with 4 seconds to go. So Joe Giddens with his 3rd interception of the year. 6 of the team's 10 interceptions prior to today's game have been between Lawrence, Giddens, and Mathis. And Giddens, they each had 2. Giddens picks up his 3rd.
That's when you get greedy. No need to pass the ball with 22 seconds left to go on the clock. Take a knee and go into halftime. Here now you're putting yourself in a situation where Bethune-Cookman can come right back and score with 4 seconds left to go anytime a dangerous guy like Troutman's on the field. Watch it here, the interception, and I tell you what he did that was so smart was run out of bounds with a little time to possibly score.
So he goes out of bounds, and Bethune gets the ball. I mean, this is going to be...
They've got 6 wide receivers in this game right now.
And a flag is going to be down. This is going to be a Hail Mary into the end zone. And it's intercepted in the end zone. But let's see, it's the penalty is on the offensive team. It's not going to be a defensive penalty. So we're going to have an illegal formation. So, again, that'll end the first half. It'll be declined by the Aggies. And that's going to end the first half. That's actually technically a turnover. 6-1 for the Bethune Cookman Wildcats today. First interception. No time left.
Tell you what, it's been an interesting game in the first half when you consider the score 16-6. You've seen Troutman generate the offense late in the second quarter of this game. But, of course, turnovers have been the thing that have hurt every team that plays against the Aggies, because the Aggies will capitalize on that mistake. Once again, you see all the folks getting ready. The band is getting ready to pump you up and play for you at halftime. We've got a feature where I go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we find out exactly who were some of the first African Americans inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and you will be surprised the representation that you will see from the MEAC and its schools and representatives.
All right, Bill Hayes, his team leading 16-6, and he's with our Jeff Rumlin on the sideline right now. Jeff.
Down here, Coach, you have 5 turnovers here in the first half. You lead 16-6. How do you see the first half so far?
We were a little sloppy in the first half, but we were able to hang on. That's the key thing. I thought our defense made some huge plays to put the offense in position. We've got to play better, and we've got to tackle a lot better.
And, Coach, it's obvious that your defensive players go for the ball. Do you teach that each day in practice?
Every day in practice, we teach scoop drills for fumbles and things like that.
All right, Coach.
Hey, go with the Aggies.
All right. We'll see you. Charlie, back up to you.
All right.
Coach is making me look good up here. You know that?
Team leading by 10. We're at halftime here in Daytona. We'll be back.
Somehow we've been able to institutionally capture that magnificent interface between the strong liberal arts tradition and the high-tech mode to produce the place where dreamers become achievers, from astronauts to presidents.
North Carolina A&T State University, where the best get better.
At halftime and down on the field, a marching machine from North Carolina A&T. Let's go down and take a listen. North Carolina A&T Aggies marching machine here in Daytona Beach. Their team leading 16-6 at halftime. And a number of our players who play collegiate football here in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference are now members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And our Ronnie Duncan had a chance to visit and update us on those members.
It is the home of greatness and the home of the best. The Pro Football Hall in Canton, Ohio. And the MEAC is well represented in the home that enshrines football's greatest stars. And football fans from throughout the world make this pilgrimage to Canton, Ohio each year to take a look. Joe Corrigan is one of the executives of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
When you talk about any Hall of Famer, they're usually people who have had success throughout their life that got them to the final step, at least in their professional career. These aren't people who were handed things. They were people that worked hard and excelled at what they did.
And that is the true essence of the emergence of the African-American athlete in professional sports in the modern-day era as we know it today. And back in 1946, Bill Willis, along with Marion Motley, who at one time went to South Carolina State, became the first two African-Americans to play professional football in the United States a year before Jackie Robinson ever donned a uniform with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Marion, as I mentioned, broke the color barrier along with Bill Willis, who played at Ohio State, in the All-America Football Conference. Concurrently, we had over with the Los Angeles Rams, we had Woody Strode and Kenny Washington. But Marion and Bill were the first two to really become outstanding athletes or professional athletes and stay for a long extended period of time.
Motley played most of his career with the Cleveland Browns, wearing number 76. But he was also a first at the Hall of Fame, as the first African-American ever inducted.
Marion came in 1968, and it's just one of his many firsts.
One of the newest exhibits here at the Hall of Fame is one that is honoring African-American athletes and how they started in pro football.
Well, that exhibit we actually created in its original form back in 1978, but about 2-3 years ago we redid it, just gave it a different look. It kind of got dated in the sense of its technique. But it was really our attempt to show that the black athlete, while it was very sparsely represented in professional football from its birth in 1892, really until the 60s, it was our attempt to show that chronology. We're not making any statement as to what and why it happened so much as the fact that it did happen.
However, we do know this. The MEAC is proud of its contributions to the development of African Americans in pro football, as well as the Hall of Fame. Morgan State has Roosevelt Brown, Lynn Ford, Willie Lanier, and Leroy Kelly all in the Hall. Bethune Cookman has Larry Little. South Carolina State has Marion Motley and Deacon Jones. And finally, Art Shell, the first African American to coach in the modern-day era, is there as a player with the Oakland and Los Angeles Raiders, and he's a proud product of Maryland Eastern Shore. That's 7 players from MEAC schools in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And consider this, only 199 players, coaches, and contributors are in the Hall, and the MEAC has 7, and the first 2 men of color to be named there.
The first thing that comes to mind when I think of the Len Fords and the Marion Motleys, and even later when we start getting into some of the players that came in the 60s, is that there were rival leagues to the National Football League at that time that helped bring opportunity. Specifically, the All-America Football Conference in the 40s enabled Paul Brown to bring in black players to that league. At the same time, the National Football League, more under pressure, reacted and allowed black players to play with the Los Angeles Rams. But Marion came in 1946, breaking the color barrier a year before baseball did it with Jackie Robinson. Len Ford came in 48 with the Los Angeles Dons. Len was an All-America, and I don't even know that he was drafted in the National Football League.
But one thing we do know, he played in the MEAC. Ronnie Duncan reporting.
Made their mark. MEAC players in the Hall of Fame. We're at halftime, and the Aggies lead it by 10, 16-6. Time score, the Aggies of North Carolina A&T leading the Wildcats at Bethune Cookman. We're at halftime. Charlie Neal along with Ronnie Duncan. And Ronnie, when you look at this first half, kind of a strange kind of a ball game. When you look at the fact that Bethune Cookman has turned the ball over 6 times in the first half and still only trailed by 10 points against a team who put up 51 points last week against Howard.
Once again, it's indicative of that great Aggies defense, but it's been the turnover. Coach Billy Hayes talked about it. He said, you know what? We go for the football, and you can see it. It's in bold print. 6 turnovers for Bethune Cookman, just 2 for North Carolina A&T. But time possession, it's been all about A&T, but not by much, only by about a minute. But rushing yards, 42, you'd expect them to have the edge there in the passing, in rushing. And the reason why I say that is because 172 rushing, 42 passing, Bethune Cookman, they're starting to generate that offense, and that could cause some big problems for A&T down the stretch.
All right, let's go down on the field now where the Bethune Cookman College Marching Band is performing for us at halftime. Let's take a listen.
HRG helped.
Halftime score, Aggies over Bethune Cookman College. Charlie Neal along with Ronnie Duncan. And Ronnie, quite an interesting first half. We talked about the 6 turnovers by Bethune Cookman College. A&T had 2 of their own, but A&T was able to capitalize on 3 of those 6 turnovers and put some points on the board.
Well, one of the ways they put points on the board is with the running game. Take a look at the highlights, because when you talk about Maurice Smith, we've seen this guy go. I mean, he is simply awesome. Watch him here taking in for the touchdown. Charlie, that's 37 yards, and when you're that big and you're that good, that's just simply awesome. And then you want to see somebody take somebody into the end zone. Watch Mr. Farmer. See, you can't block me. I have the end zone, and before you knew it, but here's Troutman going to Antonio Stanley. Yes, he's missed the excitement. Antonio Stanley looked more like a baseball player catching a fly, but he catches it for the touchdown. And of course, here's the big hit on the official. And I tell you what, man, you hate to see that go down. So you've got like 2 players down. We've got an official down, but we've got a score of 16-6 for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. More of the MEAC Game of the Week after this.
I leave you a responsibility for young people. Bethune Cookman College is an enlightening educational journey which inspires young men and women to succeed. For nearly a century, this private United Methodist College has maintained an international reputation for academic excellence and moral leadership. Its modern campus and facilities provide students unparalleled opportunities for learning. Bright futures begin at Bethune Cookman College.
Football at its best with hard-hitting, non-stop action. From Tallahassee, Florida to Washington, D.C., MEAC football in 1999 will keep you on the edge of your seat with the stars of tomorrow today. The MEAC invites you to join us next week in the nation's capital as the Howard University Bison celebrate homecoming by hosting the Bulldogs of South Carolina State. Check your local listings for time and station. Halftime score. We'll be back. Third quarter action from Bethune Cookman in just a moment. At Municipal Stadium in Daytona Beach, where Bethune Cookman hosting the Aggies of North Carolina A&T, and the Aggies are trailing 16-6 as we start the third quarter. They'll be kicking off. They're in their goal jerseys and blue pants and be moving right to left. Some of the crowd on hand here in Municipal Stadium. Let's go down to our sideline reporter, Jeff Rumlin, who has some updates for us. Jeff.
Charlie, on the injury front, referee Artie Cobb will not return. For Bethune Cookman, Patel Troutman got knocked around a little bit. However, Coach Wyatt said he will return. He's ready to go. One key note, Coach Wyatt said we moved the ball extremely well in the first half. However, we turned the ball over. If we don't turn the ball over, we're winning this game. Back upstairs.
All right, well, that's quite evident. If you have 6 turnovers and you're still only down by 10 points, that you could still be in this ball game. Just in case you joined us, to recap the scoring, Smith 37-yard run made it 7-0 Aggies. Then Dawkins with a 37-yard field goal made it 10-0. Farmer's 1-yard run, and the extra point was blocked. It was 16-0 Aggies. All results of miscues by the Bethune Cookman Wildcats. Troutman got his team on the board. 4:49 left in the second quarter with a 13-yard pass to Antonio Stanley, and that's the way we are here as we start the third quarter. Bringing the ball out for Bethune Cookman, and not much running room for him as that's Oscar Counts coming back on the return. Was that Counts or was that 23 there? Yep, it is Counts. Oscar Counts. Moses Norman is the referee. Bruised shoulder for Artie Cobb, who started out at the referee position, so he will not return. But the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman have the ball, 1st down and 10 at their own 12. Started to show some life and holding on to the football just before halftime. The deepest penetration they had other than a touchdown was to the Aggie 15-yard line. Patel Troutman keeps the ball across the 10-15 to about the 16-yard line. A gain of 3, 2nd down and 7. The quarterback coach at North Carolina A&T, ironically enough, is a former quarterback here at Bethune-Cookman, J.D. Hall, and he's sitting in the booth right next to us. He still holds a couple of MEAC records when he played here at Bethune-Cookman. Again, they keep the ball on the ground. Jeremy Thomas cutting back, and he is brought down. Good tackle. Here's Jeremy Thomas. Sammy Rogers goes out. He's the one that made the last tackle for an equipment repair. He'll be replaced in the lineup by Jermaine Heinsohn for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Now there's some discussion. Bill Hayes is out on the field talking with his defense. I didn't see anyone take a timeout. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Alvin Wyatt is beside himself, and he's discussing things with Todd Reese, the headline or the line judge, on the near sideline. So I still have no idea what that whole discussion situation was about, but we're rolling now. 1st down. 1st down and 10. Ball out across the 22. About the 23-yard line. Jeremy Thomas on the carry, but a flag is going to be down. We may have illegal procedure against Bethune-Cookman, and that'll nullify that good run. If it is illegal procedure, it may be offsides against the defense. 2 people moving at the same time. We have illegal procedure. No, it's offsides. I'm trying to figure out, trying to get the signals from Moses Norman.
On the defense, decline, 1st down.
So the penalty is declined. It was offsides against the Aggies of North Carolina A&T.
He jumped off a little offsides and then, you know, I saw him make the move, and I wasn't too sure whether it was going to call a flag, and all of a sudden,
it is 1st down and 10 for the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats at the 36-yard line. Jeremy Thomas still behind the quarterback, and Thomas has the football, goes straight ahead, picks up about 2 or 3, out to about the 38-yard line. That'll bring up a 2nd down and 7 again. So there's Jeremy Thomas, who's getting quite a bit of the load today as far as carrying the ball between him and Jay Rogers. Troutman back to pass. Throws. And it is caught for a first down. All the way up into Bethune-Cookman territory is Terrion Hubbard, the redshirt sophomore out of St. Petersburg, Florida. So it was a great catch with a man draped all over him. And the man that was draped all over him was Darrell Clue. And he couldn't believe that the man came up with the catch.
Darrell Clue was there to perhaps try to strip that football. Once again, it's that technique that Coach Hayes said they've been working on the entire season. And obviously it's paid some dividends today.
On the option, Troutman cuts it back inside. Jeremy Thomas was stood up in the hole. It's a good thing he didn't hand the ball to him.
Sean Paler was able to slow him down, especially coming in from his position, from the right defensive end position. Slow down Troutman.
When it comes to sacks, the Aggies of North Carolina A&T lead the MEAC, averaging 3.5, second in first downs allowed. And here's the third down conversion you see there. Here we go. Again, Jeremy Thomas, the same type of play that would have stood him up before, stood him up this time. Robert Williams leading the charge for the Aggies defensively, and he's got some help down there from B.J. Little.
Tell you what, that time Robert got off the ball so quickly that he didn't even have time to respond. All he did was wrap his man up, and it was nothing like a loss for a game.
Third down situation. Here we go. The Aggies today, 1 of 6. Bethune, 4 of 9 in third down conversions. They came in with a 34% ratio. Antonio Stanley is in there from the shotgun. Troutman sidearms it, and it's caught inside the 30. Stanley still on his feet and finally run out of bounds at about the 20-yard line. Antonio Stanley, who a lot of people didn't think would play today, he has a touchdown reception of 13 yards, and he picks up another reception on this play for first down.
Antonio Stanley shows you his athleticism, and what he did on this play is that he came back to the football, got to the softest spot of the zone, was able to catch on, and this is what he can do with the football. Move. I'm talking about run without the football. They call him Mr. Excitement because he can definitely make things happen. Yeah, the junior from Miami, Florida, major education, but he's teaching a lesson on you can't catch me right now.
Jeremy Thomas again trying to get the running game going, and again it was Robert Williams there to make sure he didn't get too far. Gain of 1, stopped at about the 19, second down 9. We're in the third quarter, 10-20 the time remaining.
Bethune Cookman moving the ball extremely well. They've mixed it up a lot, be it with the option, be it with the straight drop up Patel Troutman. And he's going to his receivers. He's finding the open opportunities. Right now, obviously, the run is something that North Carolina A&T has been able to stop with some efficiency. However, anytime Patel Troutman is moving and grooving the way he's done right now, look out.
And he keeps the ball on the option, and nothing doing for him that time as Sammy Rogers out of Jacksonville High in Jacksonville, North Carolina, came up to make the stop. And this is a Bethune-Cookman team, Ronnie, that a year ago was third in the MEAC in scoring offense, second in run offense, number 4 in total offense with the wide bone. They averaged 229 yards rushing per contest a year ago. This year, not much behind that, about 204. And the difference is, again, Patel Troutman, I think, had a little more protection a year ago. And I think they surprised some people a year ago. They're not sneaking up on people like they did in 1998. Troutman doesn't like what he sees defensively. He's going to call a timeout. 9:19 remaining third quarter. 16-6. The Aggies still on top by 10 over Bethune in Daytona. Third quarter. A year ago, the MEAC sent 3 teams to the postseason. Hampton and Florida A&M went to the 1AA playoff, while Bethune represented the conference in the Heritage Bowl, where they lost to Southern 28-2. In fact, only trailed 7-2 at the half in that particular contest, but wound up losing eventually. So Patel Troutman has Antonio Stanley moving to a wing to the left side on the shotgun. Rolls left, looking, has some running room down the middle, takes off. He's at the 5, cuts it outside and knocked out of bounds at about the 1-yard line, where to be first and goal, Bethune-Cookman College. Finally run out of bounds. I believe that was Von Keith Spencer who ran him out.
Once again, he's a dangerous weapon. Anytime he has the football in his hands, he reads that defense extremely well. He sees that gaping hole, and he says, you know what? There's a possibility I can go inside and maybe even get a touchdown. But you know what? He may have hurt himself on this play, and as a matter of fact, he is coming off to the sideline. Look at him, limping on that knee. Patel Troutman. Now, if he goes out of this game, despite the fact they could easily score on this possession, it will be a costly one for the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman.
Randall Foster in the lineup. We've seen him a little earlier. He's a transfer from Northern Illinois University from Ypsilanti, Michigan. Had to play this year for Troutman, who's been injured on numerous occasions. He's the number 9 passer in the MEAC and could be, a lot of people feel, maybe the best backup in the conference beside Quinn Gray over at Florida A&M.
You know, they've got several people around Patel right now, and it doesn't look good for this knee. This young man had knee surgery over the offseason, and let's hope it's nothing serious, because this will be a devastating loss for Bethune-Cookman.
Jeremy Thomas is in the wide bone, the third back there. They put a linebacker up there as a blocking back. They also have up there Fillmore Wester. And they give to Jeremy Thomas, who doesn't get in, or does he? Yes, he gets a signal from the official. And Jeremy Thomas scores from 1 yard out. And that is his 4th rushing touchdown this season. And it makes it a 16-12 ball game. So Bethune, despite 6 turnovers in the first half, right back in it right now.
Most definitely 12 unanswered points, and watch him here. I mean, he gets it to that end zone, and you know why he does it? Moving them legs. Never stopping until that official puts those hands up, and he says, you know what? They have 6 on their side.
So here in the third quarter, the point after, which was missed earlier, is missed again by Danny Mathis. Remember, coming into today's game, he was a perfect 20 for 20 and point after touchdowns, but he has missed 2 in this ball game. And instead of it being a 16-14 ball game, it is 16-12 with 9:05 remaining here in the third quarter.
4-point advantage right now, and it's a situation in which they have scored 12 unanswered points. And Charlie, as you said it best, they could have easily scored 14 unanswered points. And what has to happen is that Billy Hayes has to be saying to himself, what has gone wrong? All of a sudden, we're not moving the football with any efficiency. All of a sudden, we're not stopping the football with any efficiency. And it goes right back to what the point in which you were trying to convince me that, hey, look, Ronnie, sure, there are the turnovers there, but they're still moving the football. It's evident in the scoreboard right now, 16-14.
And an 88-yard drive, and Jeff Rumlin has an update for us from the sideline. Jeff.
Guys, Patel Troutman, knee bruise on the left knee. He will return, says team doctors.
All right. Well, he's been a trooper today. He's been in and out of the lineup. He's been in and out of the lineup all year long. He's had problems with that knee. And, of course, sometimes the tender spot kind of raises its ugly head when you don't want it to.
You know, the thing about it, didn't look like anyone really hit him that bad. Every time he's gone out, it doesn't look like he's taken a serious fall. However, obviously that knee is tremendously tender, and any time it takes any type of foul action, it responds in a negative way.
So the kickoff by Jody Spear is down in the end zone. Blakeney will not run it out. So it's been brought out to the 20-yard line, where it will be 1st down and 10. When you look at the latest 1AA poll, Florida A&M still in the hunt for the Heritage Bowl, but North Carolina A&T not far from being ranked this week. They were like around 25 or something like that in the rankings of 26. They were just a hair away from going in to the top 25 ranking.
They haven't made a lot of believers nationwide. A lot of people are wondering how they've had so much success. One of the reasons they've had it is running the football, and that was, of course, Maurice. Big Maurice didn't get many yards on that carry there. Maurice Smith.
So the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats showed they can get a sustained drive going if they just hold on to the football. That last drive started at their own 12. They go 88 yards, and they put it in the end zone with Jeremy Thomas sneaking it in from 1 yard out. And it is 2nd down and 9 now for the Aggies, who lead it by a score of 16-12.
They got to put the ball in the air, the Aggies, too. They've been running the football, but right now I'd like to see Chris Caldwell get the football and do some amazing things with Darius Helton, their fine wide receiver.
And we're going to get illegal procedure or a false start against the Aggies of North Carolina A&T.
Tempers are starting to flare, man. People are getting a little edgy out there. This game is on the line. We've got a heck of a football game at 16-12, 8:17 left in the third quarter.
Well, these teams again have been talking a lot of trash over the years.
Right to the snap. False start on the offense. Replay the down.
So false start on the offense. Replay the down. And that'll move the ball back to about a 2nd down and 13 situation. Farm will be up back in the eye. Bo Smith is the second back. Play action. Back to pass is Battle. Has some running room. Decides he's going to take off and run, but he's not going to get far. He was run down from behind on the near sideline.
Yeah, it was Chuck Powell, and Chuck Powell was with the acceleration, and what I liked is that he came from the backfield to do exactly that. Number 49.
Jimmy Williams, 48. Jimmy Williams was the man who made the tackle from Norland High in Miami.
That was a nice thing, coming from behind and from that position on the football field. Anytime you can run the quarterback down like that, you're doing your job.
3rd down and 5. Farmer goes in motion. Nobody behind the quarterback Battle. And we got a flag again. Here's Rolando North trying to turn the corner. Ramondo, a very quick individual out of West Charlotte High in Charlotte, North Carolina. Very close to that 1st down mark in front of the Aggie bench. But we're going to get a flag against the Aggies. They've been penalized in the first half alone. They were penalized 6 times. Both teams picked up 6 penalties in the first half.
All right, just got to know Terry Doctor is out with a sprained ankle.
And he's been out just about all game. So
but you know what? That defense is starting to play extremely well without him.
They certainly have. We thought that was going to be a devastating blow, but it hasn't hurt them that much.
Illegal shift against the offense. 5 yards. Replay the down.
There, let's see, I don't know who that is right now. I can't see the face. That may be Relaford.
Yes,
yes,
probably Relaford right now.
From the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Len Relaford went out in the first half. Terry Doctor is out. Troplin's ailing. Referee went down. Battles back to pass. And here's a pass out in the flat. And not much going on after the reception for Darius Helton. He got the ball and it'll bring up a 4th down punting situation for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T.
Man, it's almost like someone let the air out of the offense of the A&T
But see, I don't think they really had the offense today. Again, they were fortunate that they had the ball because of 6 turnovers by Bethune Cookman, but they still haven't shown a whole lot as far as their offense today. So from their own 23-yard line, they're back to punt it away. Darian make that Anthony Moore, the punter, gets a high kickoff. Fair catch called for and made right at the 40-yard line. 16-12. We'll be back. 16-12 here in the third quarter. And of course, the winner of this contest takes another step toward the Heritage Bowl. Both of them have to go through Florida A&M, though, before the season ends. And FAMU also unbeaten in conference play so far this season. 1st down and 10, Bethune. Patel Trotman with the pitch back. And here's Rogers trying to make that Porter, rather, trying to turn the corner. Porter picks up a few yards out to about the 43-yard line. A gain of 3. It'll be 2nd down and 7 for Terran Porter.
Wrapped up there by Dwayne Carpenter, number 19. You'll see Porter right here. He gets the football off the pitch out by Patel Trotman. Watch that Carpenter on his back.
Dwayne's had a pretty good game today. Out of Troy, North Carolina, West Montgomery High. 2nd down 7 for Bethune Cookman. Thomas, the lone setback. And Trotman wants to go back to pass. And he throws. And it's going to be intercepted in the secondary by Tremel Perquette. So the 7th turnover of the day by Bethune. Not a good pass by the quarterback, Patel Trotman. His 7th interception of the year.
Tremel Perquette acted as if he was intended to be the receiver. instead of the defender. Watch him here. Patel Troutman. Everyone has talked about the fact that he's throwing a little bit more. Came into this game 19 of 24 in the last 2 games in which he's had a lot of success throwing the football. Right here, he makes a huge mistake. And Perquette makes him pay.
Perquette's first interception of the year. He's a young man who's moved from the running back spot. 6 plays, 3 minutes and 19 seconds is the longest drive that A&T's had today, and they still wound up punting the football away. So again, that goes back to the fact that they have not been able to sustain any long drives. They got their 16 points because of the mistakes by Bethune-Cookman.
One thing, Jason Battle has not been able to get off the way that he wants. And let's face it, here's a kid that he came into this game doing extremely well. You know what? He's getting a lot of pressure, though. And the pressure is coming from all angles. As a matter of fact, every time he turns around, he sees that maroon. He sees those Wildcats coming at him. He thinks about throwing the ball. He says, no, I better hold on to it. And he runs out of bounds.
See,
any damage can be done.
A lot of times you say they're not doing well, but you forget that the other team is out there playing too. And they've trained all week in practice to try to stop you, as Mo Smith has rough going downfield.
Tell you what, you talked about it earlier in the football game. You're having some problems with the footing out there, and Mo Smith saw an opening. However, he slipped.
Late flag, and this will be a dead ball flag, and it's going to be either against one of these 2 teams here. Let's see, somebody got a little rambunctious down there on the tackle. The Bethune-Cookman players seemingly thinking it's against the Aggies of A&T. They're both pointing to each other.
A&T is walking backwards right now, so it may be against them.
It's going to be a dead ball personal foul penalty. I can see that. That's a big one. Moses Norman is our referee. Marty Cobb shaken up earlier in the contest.
We have a dead ball, personal foul on the offense. They're down. They're down.
One score we have in Howard University down at Norfolk State, leading 3-0. At least they got that shutout off their back from a week ago, 51-0, with 1:45 left in the first quarter. 6 minutes to go here in the third here. A 4-point ball game between Bethune and North Carolina A&T. Now we may have offsides against Bethune. The play is getting very sloppy for as well tuned as these 2 teams are. These are the types of mistakes you shouldn't be making. The false starts, the illegal shifts, the offsides.
Offside on the defense, 5 yards. He played it down.
Yeah, nose guard Rod Smith jumped off sides. As a matter of fact, Big Rod was trying to get over that center to get into that backfield.
3rd and 20 right now for the Aggies. And they give off to Farmer. And Farmer has nowhere to go as Jimmy Williams got the linebacker, got his arm around the ankle of Eric Farmer, wouldn't let him go anywhere. The linebacker out of Norland High down in Miami.
Did a nice job of getting into the backfield, because what was about to happen, he was about to turn upfield. He was about to turn upfield off the right tackle.
Bill Hayes, you see him there, 13th coach at the school, only 2 losing seasons. His first 2 years, that was 88 and 89. In fact, he spent 12 years at Winston-Salem, had a record of 89, 40, and 2. It's a career 170 win record. Not a good punt this time. Again, and it hit one of the Aggies in the back and dies right at about the 44-yard line. We'll be back. 16-12 is our score. The Aggies holding on by 4. And Patel and Wyatt just finished talking. Patel's over center, hands off, and not much running room that time for Rogers. Jay Rogers. When you talk about the rest of the season, you look at Bethune-Cookman's schedule. Next week they're at home against Hampton University. They travel up to Norfolk to play Norfolk State the week after. Then they close out the season November 20th in Orlando in the Florida Classic. That's a game that traditionally brings over 60-some thousand people to the Florida Citrus Bowl there in Orlando. They play Florida A&M in that game November 20th. 2nd down and 9 now for Bethune-Cookman and the Wildcats. Trotman working from the gun this time. One-step drop, throws, has it complete to Antonio Stanley, who retreated and actually lost some of his forward momentum, maybe gain about a yard on the play, and that's it. It'll be 3rd down and 8. Let's check out some other games in the MEAC. Some very big games happening as far as Delaware State and Florida A&M. They're playing down in Tallahassee. No score between South Carolina State and Hampton, and of course Howard, we mentioned earlier, leading Norfolk State in the first quarter 3-0. All big games as we go down the stretch, and everybody's jockeying for positions. They want some postseason honors. 3rd down and 8 for Bethune right now. Lash comes in the slot, goes in motion now. Stanley's on the wing to the left. 2 people moving at the same time, so that's a flag against the offense. Trotman just throws it, and he throws it out of bounds, and it may be declined, the penalty.
It looked like there was some holding there.
Well, beside the holding, there was on the offensive side 2 people moving at the same time. You had a man in motion.
Got illegal shift on the offense, declined, 4th down.
That'll bring up a 4th and 8 situation. That'll bring on the punting unit for Bethune-Cookman College. Jody Spear will come on to punt it away, averaging 39 yards per punt, but he has had 1 block so far this year. And Chris Caldwell is the deep man to return for the Aggies. So this drive started at their own 44. They are punting it from their own 46. Chris Caldwell, 2nd in the conference in punt returns, averaging 14.8 yards per return. Spear gets off a good one. Caldwell retreats, picks it up, and falls down at about the 8-yard line. So that's where they will go to work, the Aggies, the 3rd possession of the 2nd half. And of course, Fallstone Productions stay at the Adams Mark in Daytona Beach, the Daytona Beach Resort. The Adams Mark is Daytona's premier resort with all amenities and the best variety of dining and entertainment. All rooms are oceanfront, located at 100 North Atlantic Avenue. The Adams Mark is the premier resort in Daytona Beach. For reservations, all you have to do is call them at 1-800 toll-free 444-ADAM. 3:17 the time remaining here. Charlie Neal, Ronnie Duncan, Jeff Rumlin, and the Aggies leading it by 4, but they fumble the football. And let's see, the Aggies have lost it. Their 3rd turnover today, and A&T has lost the football. Bethune comes up with it.
You know, sooner or later, good things are going to start happening for the Wildcats, and it's happening right now. They're capitalizing on the mistakes of North Carolina A&T. Maybe the true colors are coming out. You can see right here that Jason Battle never got a grip on that ball. Bad snap, either from the center or either from him trying to handle it. Take a look at it right here. You'll see the center right under the ball. But you know what? It hit the foot instead of even hitting the hands. And that's bad. That's a bad move to make at a time like this. And look what the ball is inside the 10. And this is Troutman's territory. And when they get into that red zone, they normally score.
Jay Rogers, the lone setback. And Rogers has the football, but he's not going to go anywhere as he's met in the hole by Robert Williams.
Robert Williams taking them down for a loss. The defense has to answer the call. They've got all the numbers. They're the top defense in the MEAC. Now they've got to step up and do the job. And right now, 16-12 is not a very huge lead. That's only 4 points. And one guy who wants this victory, that man right there. You talk about a guy who can't forget. You know, my grandmother used to always say this thing. She's Mary Jane McQuaid's. I can forgive and I can't forget. I believe that Coach Wyatt thinks the same way. He thinks back every time he takes on A&T to that 73, the 7 trashing, and he says, hey, Billy was running up the score.
Chris Brown is the man hobbling off out of Sarasota's Riverview. Soul of the offensive line, started every game a couple of years ago, redshirted in 96 and 98. Honorable mention last year. All the MEAC, as you look at Bill Hayes on the other side of the field, his defense backs against the wall. With all the opportunities they've had, they have not played that well offensively. That is the Aggies today.
And that's hurt them because of the simple fact that they've had the momentum. They've had the huge lead, and they have let Bethune-Cookman come right back and perhaps take this game and take the lead. We'll see what happens on this series.
Second and goal from the 11-yard line. Again, Rogers skipping through there, really not handling good opening and not a good hole. They needed to do a little bit more to spread that out.
Most definitely. They got to spread out this ball. They've got to open it up. And you know what? He's probably going to go to the lucky charm. There are two things that can happen right now. You're talking about Antonio Stanley. He's back into the game. You're talking about going with maybe 4 to 5 wide receivers. They did that the last time they scored. And obviously with Patel Troutman, you know that he is a dangerous man anytime he has the football.
Now again, they're down by 4. There's still a lot of time left. We're in the third quarter. They could still kick a field goal, come to within 1, but you got to remember Danny Mathis, who is their kicker, has missed his last 2 PATs in this contest. It should be only a 2-point ball game. Troutman is brought down right away by guess who? Number 97, Robert Williams, who's been playing a whale of ball game along that defensive line, and Troutman never got on track.
He gets off the ball extremely well. Number 97, I'm talking about Robert Williams. Watch him here. Once the snap is made, look who's in the backfield. And Patel Troutman says, how did he get to me that quickly? How did he get in the backfield that fast? You see, man, he's like lightning. You didn't even see him.
So this will be a 29-yard field goal attempt by Danny Mathis. He is 7 of 11 in field goals this year. He was 20 of 20 in PATs before today's game. We get a procedure penalty even though the kick is good, and it's going to be against number 71, Jesus Sarday. He raised up a little bit too soon before the ball was snapped, and then left tackle spot. But the kick was good, but it won't count.
Right to the snap. False start on the offense. Replay to down.
If we see it, you'll watch 71. He moves a little prematurely before the ball was snapped. And that is what precipitated the penalty flag. So rather than a 29-yard field goal attempt, it's going to be a 34-yard field goal attempt. He's kicked the 47-yarder this year. This one is up, but it is good. I wasn't sure the way the official was looking at it. It is good. So they pulled it within 1. Mathis with the 34-yard field goal attempt pulls his team to within 1, 16-15 here in the third quarter with 54 seconds left.
We've got a close one. Just 1 point. You know, this could be a game that Bethune-Cookman could easily be on top of. Some point afters had been made, and it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens as we work the clock. Billy Hayes has to tell his troops, we must move the football. But in order to do that, Billy Hayes has to start getting his quarterback, Jason Battle, to find his receivers. Anytime you got a Darius Helton, number 13 on the field, Romando North, number 1. Anytime you've got a Chris Caldwell or Desmond Adams, you've got to use these people, and you've got to use them to the best of their ability. Now, as far as the tight end is concerned, that is number 88, Marcus Bryson. We have got to see that happen. But you know what? The reason it hasn't happened, the defense has been there all day long consistently without Terry Doctor, the leading tackler for Bethune-Cookman. He's out right now, but still, Bethune-Cookman is finding ways to do it, and they're finding ways to do it with Lydell Jackson, Willie Dobie, Abdul Yates, Rod Smith, Damian Cook, all those guys playing well.
And let's check out that ground scoring drive. 4 plays, 6 yards. 34-yard field goal by Mathis, and the time used off the clock. Aggies, an up man picks it up, and not much running room for him as he is dropped back at about the 21-22-yard line. That was Asa Evans, the strong safety out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, who came up with it.
You know what? You got a Bethune-Cookman player on the field right now that's pretty shaken up in that whole series off the special teams. Somebody clean this block. Kenneth. Who is that? Kenneth Finley?
You know, we look all year long, the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats in coming into today's game in 7 games had turned the ball over 13 times. Well, actually, a total of 22 times. 13 fumbles, 9 interceptions, but today they've turned the ball over 7 times. The Aggies 3. That's 10 turnovers between the two teams in a game that was supposed to be, you know, one of your showcase games, and the teams, neither one did a good job of protecting the football. First down and 10 at the 21-yard line for the Aggies, leading by 1. Here's a pass to Darius Houghton. And let's go down to Jeff Rumlin for an injury report. Jeff.
Guys, offensive lineman Chris Brown, his foot was stepped on. He should be able to go back in the game. Charlie, you have to wonder, with all of these injuries, how BCC will continue in this game and further down the road, because they're getting knocked down real hard.
They certainly are, and a lot of people have gone to the sideline and have not come back today. And some people who we didn't expect to see have come on and played because they were a little banged up. But you have to sometimes button that chin strap and give that extra effort, especially when the chips are down. On second down, Battle wants to put it in the air, reverses his field, and gets a little running room, but he runs right into the heart of the defense of Bethune Cookman. And that's the end of the third quarter here in Daytona Beach. 1-point ball game. The Aggies by 1.
Need a new look for your living?
In Daytona Beach, 16-15, Aggies by 1 over the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. Let's check out our third quarter. Bank of America stats for the game. Bethune-Cookman doing a good job on the ground after still struggling early in this contest. In fact, lead in overall yards and first downs. But they have actually 7 turnovers now as opposed to 6.
Tell you what, mounting turnovers, mounting points, the change in the flow of this game.
Third down and bobbled by Battle, but he manages to pick it up. Darius Houghton has the reception, but he is still way short of a first down at about the 28-29 yard line. So to bring up a 4th down situation, 4th and about 3.
They took my suggestion and went to, of course, their wide receiver, Darius Houghton, on 2 of the series. But once again, just bad snaps and bad pursuit with that football. I'm talking about the Aggies of North Carolina A&T, Charlie. Their offense out of sync. They just can't seem to generate any positive yardage.
Rashawn Mathis is deep to receive the punt of Anthony Moore, who's been a busy man this afternoon. Mathis at about the 34-yard line retreats. You never go backward, you go forward. And he was at the 34. He takes him back to the 29. So he lost 5 yards on the punt return. But it'll be Bethune's ball, first down and 10 from their own 29-yard line. They trail it by 1, 16-15. We talked about all the points that North Carolina A&T had scored this year against MEAC opponents. They've been held pretty much in check today. 28 was the lowest, and that was against Norfolk State.
You can have all the numbers in the world, but when you're talking about an intense rivalry such as the one we are witnessing here today, strange things can happen.
And we get Josh Rogers, or Jay Rogers, trying to get it going. Jay picks up, actually lost about a yard on the play. Second down and 11. 28 points was the lowest output against MEAC opponent for the Aggies this year, and that occurred against Norfolk State. They scored 3 times in the 4th quarter in that game that was tied 7-7 at the half. They had 41 points against Hampton. Moson has 141 yards rushing, 30 points against Morgan, 411 offensive yards. Here's Troutman on the reverse. There's a man right there in his face. Good defense for Eric Lash, who was trying to reverse, and the Aggies stayed home. They were not fooled defensively.
Once again, you look around and you always see the Aggies on defense. The reason they play that defense so well is that they make the adjustments. Anytime you can do that when there is the end in around, when you have the options, when there are definitely pitches on the opposite side of the field, when you can get more than 3 people on the tackle, you're doing good pursuit of the football.
Sean Paler was the man who caused Eric Lash to slow it down, and then Sean had help from his friends. A whole bunch of gold jerseys came to the rescue. Now Alvin Wyatt, he's beside himself because some of the players, he had too many people on the field or not enough. Anyway, he calls a timeout and he's in Patel's face. We'll be back. A&T by 1. Was talking about Alvin White. He had 34 interceptions as a collegian who played here at Bethune Cookman College, and it still stands as an all-time career performance over his career. And there's a symbol of the injuries, our referee, Marty Cobb, who went out with a bruised shoulder.
But you know what? Doesn't want to leave the game. He wants to see the very ending.
No question about it. On 3rd down and long, Patel Troutman throws as a complete. And it should be enough for a 1st down in front of the Aggie bench at about the 41-yard line.
Eric Lash was
the man who came up with the reception. High snap or high pass, but Lash went up and got it.
You know, they say this young man can throw the football when he finds the time, and look at him rolling out, and he finds Eric Lash. Lash with a nice reception.
Came back to the ball, gave a little cushion between him and the defender. Out of the 40-yard line is where the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats have the ball. 1st down and 10. We're in the 4th quarter from the shotgun. Troutman throws again, and it's Lash again on the reception at midfield, and he's about a yard shy of a 1st down. It'll be 2nd down and 1 as Sammy Rogers was defending for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T.
Comes back again for the ball, and what I like about it, he does it from the other side. But you know why he's able to get open? You know why he's able to come back? Tremendous speed, and that's what you get in a great wide receiver, and he's growing in confidence every time that Patel throws the ball his way.
2nd down and 1. Jeremy Thomas is back there with Patel, who is again working from the shotgun. And Patel, he's going to run it for the 1st down this time. Has the 1st down with plenty to spare and has run out of bounds at about the 48-yard line. Wisely runs out of bounds before Dwayne Carpenter can lower the boom.
You know, that's discipline. You know, before you probably would have seen him try to go ahead for even more yards, but he recognizes, you know what, I've been very fortunate. I haven't had a serious injury. They've had to take me out for a blow here and there. 16 carries, 72 yards, and he's close to his average of 85 yards per game, and that's what's important. But the other thing is how North Carolina A&T right now, they're confused. They don't know if they should do their lane assignments or whether they should go for the quarterback. They're just all confused right now.
Option again, and the pitch back. Jeremy Thomas, and he's run out of bounds in front of the Bethune bench. Jeremy Thomas run out at about the 39-yard line. Darryl Clue was there defending. Let's watch it. Troutman did a good job of selling it, and then, of course, Thomas was able to pick up some yards he didn't think he was going to pick up. They run to the short side of the field.
Yeah, but you're running the option extremely well right now, and especially that's what you're supposed to do. You sell it to the defense, and then, of course, you give off the little dump. You give off the little hitch, and that's exactly what's happened so far. The lane assignments have not been read perfectly by the Aggies of North Carolina A&T.
Troutman hurdles somebody, gets it off, and Jeremy Thomas gets the 1st down on what looked like a helter-skelter type of a play that wasn't supposed to go anywhere.
I tell you what, he's a bad man. He can make things happen. He can ad-lib on the football field. You talk about creativity. He's Picasso out there. Watch him here. He doesn't have anything going on, but it's his athleticism. Jumps right over the player and finds his man. There's Mr. Thomas.
And it's 1st down for Bethune-Cookman. 11:05 to go. 31-yard line of the Aggies.
Look at that turf, all loose up and down the turf. It's hurting both teams, but you know what? Seems like it's not hurting the Wildcats as much.
Troutman pitches to Jeremy Thomas again, who turns the corner for a yard.
Gaining in confidence. That's what's happening right now with the Wildcats. This is their stadium. We're here at Daytona Beach Municipal Stadium. As a matter of fact, you could hear some of the students say, why aren't we winning this game? We should be further ahead in this game. Well, I tell you what, if you win, you win. If you come back and win, it's even a better thing. And right now, they're only down by 1 point. I'm talking to Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. Shifting ties, the ebb and flow. Charlie, you said it right. Even though North Carolina A&T took the early lead, what did they do to get it? Well, they capitalized on the other team's mistakes. Good field position. However, when it came to generating offense, they were stymied so far today.
Larry Jones is in at a wide receiver spot, wearing number 14 at the top of the screen. And here's Jeremy Thomas. or make that Patel Troutman on the option, keeps it, takes it all the way down to the 15-yard line. And he took a pretty good hit on that knee, but he jumps right back up.
I tell you what, he took a pretty good hit. Maybe not necessarily on that knee, but he had me fooled. As a matter of fact, I thought he still didn't have the ball. Watch him here. He's like Houdini with the football. Yeah, he gets the defense. The defense thinks they've got the man wrapped up, but you know what? Keep your eye on number 9, Patel Troutman. He is the leader of the charge for the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. And right now, with this ball getting closer and closer to that end zone, you know he is the go-to guy.
First down and 10 at the 15 of A&T, trailing by 1 point. Rogers inside the 10. Rogers at the 5. Rogers at the 4. Jay Rogers, first and goal for the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. The surge, they move the pile forward.
I tell you what, they're moving it forward. They're moving it forward with that fine offensive line. You love guys like Chris Brown, you get Mr. Porter, you get Hubbard. All those guys are moving the football. And anytime you got that tight, look at that, number 72, just all over the
Gabriel
football.
Pinella.
Just moving people out of the way. That's what it's all about.
He was a first-team all-conference player in high school at Tampa's Jefferson High. He's blocking people today. First and goal for Bethune-Cookman. Porter is the man on the wing to the left side. Troutman calling the signals. North Carolina A&T showing blitz, and they do a good job with Brad Holmes coming in and reading the play, and Jay Rogers getting nothing. In fact, losing a couple of yards.
He may have lost a couple of yards there, but once again, it's the inconsistency of the defense. You're talking about North Carolina A&T, one of the best defensive teams in the country in Division I AA. I mean, the Aggies were 3rd in total defense, 5th in scoring defense and pass defense in the nation. Not just the MEAC, but the entire nation of Division I AA schools. And right now, they are getting schooled by the offense led by Patel Troutman and the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats.
Second and goal from the 8-yard line. From the shotgun, Troutman stands out, throws. Jay Rogers cannot hold on to the football.
Heard those footsteps.
And he was trying to run before he catches. It's one of what they call WBIH, did not watch ball in hands, and he tried to get upfield before he got the football. So it'll bring up a 3rd down and goal. Even a field goal here would put them in the lead, but I know Alvin Wyatt would like a little more breathing room. With 8:24 to go, he'd like to put 6 on the board.
What they've done so well
7
in the 4th quarter is that they've taken time off the clock. They have moved this football down. There he is. Danny Mathis.
Missed a couple of extra points today. Yes, he did. And here again from the shotgun. Troutman throws, has it complete. Not enough for a first down, though, or touchdown, actually. He has it complete on the near sideline, and that's Hubbard on the reception. And it's 4th down. Now, do we go for it, or do you kick the field goal to get the lead? I think you have to go for the field goal. This is one of those situations where it's not, you know, I don't think there's much of a brainer here.
I tell you what, you've got to play it safe, and obviously it's not much of a brainer, but it gives Bethune-Cookman the lead for the first time in this game. You're talking about an opportunity to put 18 unanswered points on the football. Look at that. The goalpost is not straight. The goalpost is leaning off to the side.
That's okay.
The goalpost is doing a lean right now.
I think the officials see it leaning too. So the officials are looking at the goalpost leaning. Let's hear the explanation.
He's got a gangster lane going on.
He was talking. I couldn't hear what Moses Norman was saying. We missed it, but he did try to explain something about what was happening. But either way, we're going to have about a 20-yard, 21-yard field goal by Danny Mathis. They added some time on the clock. Danny Mathis from the left hash mark. The ball is up. It is good. So Bethune-Cookman with Danny Mathis, 21-yard field goal. He's hit the last 2. Remember, he won the game against South Carolina State a couple of weeks ago, and they lead it by 2 right now. 16 Bethune, who trailed early in this ball game, 16-0, have turned the ball over 7 times. It resulted in 16 points for A&T in the lead for the first time this afternoon, and they are still playing very tough on special teams, not allowing the special teams people to get good field position, as Taz Redden was downfield quickly to make the stop defensively for the Bethune Cookman Wildcats, who lead it by 2. Let's check out the Greyhound scoring drive. And that was a long drive. Remember, that was a drive for Bethune that started at their own 29-yard line. They used up 5:56 off the clock. They went 60 yards and a 15-play drive before Danny Mathis kicked his second consecutive field goal of the ball game. Now the Aggies have the ball first down and 10 at their own 19-yard line. And here's a new quarterback in the lineup, and it's intercepted. Bethune-Cookman has the football. Intercepted. I think it's Nick Rawls who has come up with the interception. It is. Nick Rawls, his first interception of the year. Not a good pass, and a new quarterback in the lineup for North Carolina A&T. Tim Funderburk is the man who threw the pass. So he's probably got the strongest arm, but it was too strong that time.
Obviously, and it was a huge mistake. North Carolina A&T trying to find some answers. Couldn't get anything generated with Jason Battle. Now they're going with Funderburk, and Funderburk made a big mistake. First time up.
So the 4th turnover by the Aggies today, and now Bethune with a 2-point lead and the ball at the Aggie 41-yard line. First down and 10 after the interception by Nick Rawls. The option to keep the ball on the ground, gain about 5 yards, going straight ahead. And the man who got the carry was Jeremy Thomas, who's been the workhorse today. 34-27 was the score a year ago up in Greensboro, North Carolina, with the Aggies losing in overtime to Bethune-Cookman, spoiling their homecoming. It's right now 18-16. Bill Hayes has never beaten Alvin Wyatt since Alvin Wyatt has become the head coach of Bethune-Cookman. Jeremy Thomas again trying to get some breathing room. And let's talk about the significance of this game when you look at the standings. Florida A&M and North Carolina A&T come in both today unbeaten in conference play. Bethune has 2 conference losses. If A&T loses, that would be their first conference loss. Delaware State's playing Florida A&M later on. We don't have a score in that game yet, but let's say that holds up as such, and Florida A&M continues to win. Again, Bethune is sitting in the driver's seat right now. Now both of them have Florida A&M to play. Both of them have to play Florida A&M before the end of the season. Troutman throws incomplete. Lash had it, let it go. Would have been a first down. It'll bring up a 4th down. Now that would bring on Danny Mathis possibly. Let's see how long this field goal would be should he come in the ball game. Let's see what kind of confidence Coach Wyatt has in him. It would probably be about a 51-yard field goal. I think they want to go for it. Coach Wyatt's talking things over with his assistant coaches on the sideline. He's going to get a delay of game penalty if he doesn't hurry up. The game clock or play clock is down to 10 seconds. He's going to have to call a timeout and talk things over, because it would be about a 51-yard field goal. So we'll take one. 2-point lead, and Patel Troutman talking things over with Wyatt. Situation facing the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. Actually, it's 4th and about 3. They're going to go for it from the shotgun. Troutman versing his field. He's in trouble. Gets away from one of the Aggies. Still has some running room down the sideline. Throws back in the middle of the field. Lash has it. First down inside the 20 to the 19 to Eric Lash. You're talking about Houdini escapability. You can't get any better than that.
You know what? They called the other guy, Antonio Stanley, Mr. Excitement. I think this is a Mr. Excitement part 1, 2, 3, and 4. This kid is simply awesome. You talk about Houdini.
He must have retreated about 40 yards.
You think he's going to be caught, and then all of a sudden, they can't hold on. B.J. Little almost has him. Paylor almost has him. There's Little again with him. And this guy finds the open man, and there he is, Eric Lash, sitting in the middle of the field, soft spot in his zone. He gets there, and it's a first down.
He separated himself from the defenders. That is, Lash did a good job. And here's Jay Rogers with nowhere to go because Sammy Rogers slams into the turf. But a pickup of 1, it'll be 2nd down and 9. Now, that timeout that Bethune used was their last timeout. A&T has all 3 timeouts remaining. Now, look at the clock. This is good, have to be good clock management on the part of Bethune Cookman right now. They have the ball. It is a 2nd down. You want to keep possession of the ball, want as much time off the clock, put some points on the board, and go away with a victory. That's the game plan. That's very easily said, especially for us sitting up here.
Most definitely. But A&T is saying, can we stop them from getting into the end zone? The other aspect.
Oh, there's a bad toss by Trotman. That spelled doom to them earlier as they tried to get that ball this time to Trevor Porter. And Porter was wise enough and astute enough to jump on it and not try to pick it up. That could have been a big break for the Aggies.
Could have been a big break for the Aggies. That's something they were able to capitalize in the first quarter of this football game. We're no longer in the first quarter. We're in the 4th quarter. So far, ever since that point, all the breaks have been going for the Wildcats, and they have the lead now, 18-16. But what I was about to say is simply this. They should hope for a field goal. North Carolina A&T are just simply shutting them down because they still have a shot to win this football game with that much time left on the clock.
3rd and 17. Big 3rd down play for Bethune today. And this will not be complete. And Eric Lash again was the intended receiver on the near side out of Rutherford High in Springfield, Florida. Came into today's game averaging 16.5 yards per reception on 10 catches. So they're going to try maybe a field goal this time. As I see Danny Mathis coming on the football field, this will be about a 42-yard field goal attempt.
You know, Eric Lash has beaten Josh Rogers all second half of this football game. You know what? He almost turned another reception coming back. It's his speed. His speed is able to break himself away from the goal. I mean, from the defender. All right, let's go to that crooked goal post that can help you out this time.
Blocked! And the Aggies have it. And it's shuffled. And it's a forward pitch. It's a touchdown that's going to be called back. It was a forward lateral. It was a good block. It will not be a touchdown, but it will be the Aggies' ball.
You know, they did it twice last week against Howard, and I'm talking about blunts on blocking punts and kickoffs. Let's watch it again and see exactly who gets it. One thing we do know, Mr. Parker was going all the way down for a touchdown. However, they had to call it back because, of course, you can't do that. It's illegal.
Well, you can't forward lateral the ball. That's what happened. That's why it was brought back, because there was a forward lateral. Now watch the block here. Who lays out? 25 or was it 54? 54 laid out for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Arthur Wilson. And now there's the lateral. It's a forward lateral from Sammy Rogers to Von Keith Spencer. And so that's why it's going to be brought back and not be a touchdown, but it still should be the Aggies' ball. It's not a penalty. Well, it is a penalty because it's an illegal forward pass. You cannot have a forward lateral. And the official who threw the flag, Ted Podreese, he was right there to see, and it's the same thing I saw from up here.
On the block punt and on the run back, that was an illegal forward pass against goal. Got to be a 5-yard penalty from the spot and their ball.
That's the way it is. A 5-yard penalty from the spot of the forward lateral, and the Aggies still retain possession of the football.
All right, they win games on defense right now, and now the Aggies have to call on their offense to pull them out. If Funderburk is going to come back into this football game, he's going to have to look at the last series and recognize that he threw the big interception that almost led to another touchdown by Bethune Cookman. Let's see if we can see this from a distance, because, you know, Darrell Clue got in there as well.
And there's the block. Now watch Sammy Rogers. He's got the ball. Now he shifts it forward to Von Keith Spencer. And that's why it is brought back. Well, I don't know why he's not comfortable with the call. That is Coach Hayes. Of course, we want every edge, and you want a full explanation of why it's not a touchdown, especially in a close ball game like that. Both coaches are out on the field working the officials. Bill Hayes has gone back to the sideline. Alvin White still
doesn't look very happy about it either. Look at that face of Coach Hayes, man.
Well, this is, you know, We're in crunch time. 4:21
Hey, that's how they
remaining.
make that living. This is a big rivalry.
That's right.
This just isn't any game. That's Alvin Wyatt on the other sideline and Bethune Cookman.
Here's the 5-yard penalty, so the drive will start now at their own 37-yard line. This is A&T leading it by trailing by 2 points, 18-16. So you make your own opportunities, and that was a big opportunity, a big break for
Jason Battle's back in the game
for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. As you said, Battle's back at quarterback, almost handing the ball off, and not much doing as they try to keep the ball on the ground and hand it off to Maurice Smith. Maurice Smith didn't get anything going as Taz Redden made sure. A&T still has all 3 timeouts remaining. Taz Redden, look at him.
If you're looking at this game, you're probably surprised that North Carolina A&T is undefeated in conference play the way they've demonstrated and orchestrated their offense today. They just don't have it.
But you see, you can't take anything away from Bethune Cookman. They came to play also. Here we go. Mo Smith trying to turn the corner the other way. And nothing happening as Abdul Yates was there to bring him down.
Most definitely, Charlie, and it's true. I mean, they have brung it to him all day long. You talk about bringing the football. You talk about the defense clamming down. You're making sure that you're cutting people short. I mean, let's face it. We've seen Mo Smith just terrorize teams the way he did Norfolk about 3 weeks ago. But Abdul Yates does not give up. Relentless in his pursuit to make sure he brings down Mo Smith.
3rd down and 10. 3:42. The time still still running. Time remaining. And I think maybe we're going to see the Aggies. No, I thought we were going to see a timeout, but there's a little confusion on who was in the lineup at that particular time. And now we are going to see a timeout by the Aggies. So they use their first. They have 2 remaining. Bethune has used all 3 of theirs in the second half, but they lead it by 2. We'll be back. Down play of the game as you look at Patel Troutman on the right-hand side, who has engineered a great comeback for his Bethune Cookman Wildcats. Bethune Cookman #1 in the conference in 3rd down conversions with their opponents. That is defending the 3rd down conversion. Let's see what happens here. And it is a lateral caught and out of bounds, but short of a 1st down for the Aggies. They only get up to about the 44-yard line. Adrian Parks tried to make it happen. It's called a hook and ladder. Well, hook and lateral. That's how you want to look at it.
Yeah, they thought they had it, as a matter of fact. And you know what? For a second there, I thought they were going to get the 1st down, but not enough. And obviously, there's no turning back. There's no more tomorrow. You go for it on 4th down.
4th down and about 3. The ball at the 44-yard line. This year, the Aggies in 4th down situations, only 1 of 15. And they use their 2nd timeout as Battle goes over to the sideline. So you've got to be ready for everything. The defensive coordinator, Pete Adrian, for the Bethune Cookman Wildcats, put together a pretty good game plan today. I'm sure he watched the Elon film, saw what Elon was able to do to the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Plus, offensively, you know, they know what they can do against them on the offensive side of the ball. So all of those things very, very important.
Most definitely. You know, Elon beat up on North Carolina A&T, the one blemish they have on their record. If there's any similarity, both teams run the option. You know, the thing about it is that when you got a kid like Patel Troutman on the football field, and I don't know how many times I think he went out of this game, what, 2 or 3 times, and there he is. Obviously, he will be out player of the game.
Should they hold on to win this one?
Yeah, but win or lose, he's definitely out player of the game for Bethune Cookman. This young man is just simply talented. The first time I ever got a chance to see him, I saw what he looked like. I said, you know what? This kid simply can play. Not only can he play, he generates excitement. He is the reason why Alvin Wyatt should, you know what? As a matter of fact, Coach Wyatt should have given half of that trophy of Coach of the Year to him last year, because this kid is one of the reasons why his team is so good.
So a 4th down play. We said that 3rd down play was the biggest of the game. This 4th down play is the biggest for both squads.
It's going to be a big play. Let's see what happens with Maurice Smith. You got Eric Farmer there in the I formation. You got their 2 wide receivers. They got to make something happen.
Can Bethune hold on? And here's a play action. Battle with some time. Throws incomplete. Incomplete. And a flag goes down. We may have interference against Bethune Cookman. Let's see. A late flag comes in. A late flag comes in.
Rodney Bush, the tight end, was being held. I wonder if the official caught that.
Interference against Bethune is the call. And a first down is going to be granted to the Aggies of North Carolina A&T.
Against the defense. The spot foul. First down.
Let me take that back. That was actually Darius Helton, who was held, number 13, one of the leading receivers on this team. He was wide open, Charlie. And if you can see it, let's see if you can see exactly what happens. Because, see, he's being held. Can we see it? There's a hole there by number 96, but there's Darius Helton. And all of a sudden, Darius Helton goes down.
Here's Mo Smith into the secondary. And he has another first down inside the 40 to about the 39.
Now keep in mind, a field goal can win this game.
A field goal wins it for the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Darren Dawkins, 6 of 9. He's hit a 42-yarder this year. Has not had any block. Danny Mathis had his first one blocked moments ago on a 42-yard field goal attempt. And again, the tide has turned in favor of the Aggies, trying to keep this drive alive. Mo Smith again gets outside. He has some running room. Daylight, and he's finally not. Oh, he did. He was run out of bounds at about the 12 or 11-yard line. Make it the 11-yard line for Maurice Smith.
Quasim Mitchell, left tackle, number 78. One of the reasons it happened, and number 63. Watch this, Kinlock. Watch what happens right here. See, right off number 78, off the left tackle. You see exactly what happens, and he makes the extra yardage for himself. This kid is so explosive. I've enjoyed watching him play, and I'm talking about Maurice Smith.
But you know what happens a lot of times is you're playing up tight, and they really crowd the line of scrimmage. If you can get past that first wave of defenders, you've got some daylight out there. And now you rely on the secondary to bring your man down.
All right, you play it conservative now. You going for the touchdown, or you just play it to get to the field goal. That's what happens right now. The time is moving on the clock. You got one timeout left. Alvin Wyatt, you know what? He played his cards very early. He has no timeouts left. He can't control the clock.
A couple of those timeouts were not necessarily because he wanted to call a timeout. Yeah. There was some confusion out there, and in order to be not to be penalized, they decided that in a couple of situations they had to call a timeout to save the 5-yard or 10-yard penalty here and there.
Put it this way, their timeouts he wish he had back.
I'm sure he does. Second down, and here Maurice Smith this time has stood up. Hubbard, the first man to meeting. Remember, Terry Doctor, who was one of the top leaders, number 2 in the conference in tackles, went out of this game early with a sprained ankle and has not returned. We've seen a number of players go out. Also on the defensive side for the Aggies, Len Relaford went out. He's out of uniform in the second half in civilian clothes. So we've had our share of injuries. We've seen Patel Trotman in and out of the lineup. We've seen the Aggies use 3 different quarterbacks today. We've seen actually 2 different quarterbacks, Battle and Funderburk. We've seen Bethune Cookman use 3 quarterbacks today. We've seen him use Troutman, Foster, and Taji Parrish. She looked at Dawkins over on the sideline. On third down. And again, Giddens stands up. The running back, Maurice Smith. And that'll bring up a 4th down situation with 1 minute, under a minute to go. And here comes Darren Dawkins. So this may be the biggest kick for him this season. Darren Dawkins, 6 of 9 on field goals, 5th in the conference in field goal percentage at 66%. They're letting the clock run down. It's all the way down to 43 seconds. This will be a 25-yard field goal attempt for Darren Dawkins.
You can believe every member of that Wildcat team is going in for the block.
The punter, Antonio Moore, is the holder. It's a high snap. It's up, and it's long enough, and it is good. It splits the uprights with 26 seconds to go. Darren Dawkins hits a 25-yard field goal, and it's a 1-point ball game once again, 19-18 in favor of the Aggies.
It may come right back down to time management. You can talk about the circumstances that led to the fact that Bethune-Cookman had no timeouts left in the game, but you know what? Billy Hayes used his timeouts effectively. It all worked out, and once again, they went back to their money guy. I'm talking Maurice Smith, number 43, the big-time Major League prime-time player, running back who will burrow you over. And obviously, they went to the greatest side of the football, and on that offensive line, the left side, and they were able to open up the holes. That's one of the reasons why, as far as passing the football is concerned, North Carolina couldn't generate that offense today. One of the reasons why, obviously, the great defense of Bethune-Cookman. I mean, you've got to be surprised and amazed by what Bethune-Cookman did today without Terry Doctor, one of the leading defensive players in the MEAC, the preseason MEAC Defensive Player of the Year, and he goes out and you're still able to stop them, stymie them, not let them do what they want to do. I tell you what, this is pretty impressive. It's been a heck of a game, 19-18 right now, and with 26 seconds left to go on the clock, and Troutman with the ball, anything can happen.
Well, one of the things they have done is put Antonio Stanley back there, one of the most dangerous return men in the conference to return this kickoff. He's averaging 31 yards per kickoff return, and if he can just get him close, maybe Danny Mathis will have another opportunity. Remember, that last field goal block is what helped the Aggies go down the field, drive all the way down, and kick a field goal.
But regardless of the outcome, Bethune-Cookman will go back to 2 point-afters that were missed.
That's true. They missed 2 point-after touchdowns, and they need to pick it up. They remember now the Bethune-Cookman team has no timeouts left. A&T has 1 remaining. So the ball will be spotted at the 30-yard line, their own 30, but no timeouts left for the Wildcats. Trailing by 1, 19-18. Bill Hayes looking to go out of here with a perfect record. He knows he's been in a real fight here. He will go 5-0 in the conference, 7-1 overall, and remain unbeaten in MEAC play while handing Bethune their 3rd conference loss of the year and dropping them to 5-3 overall.
You know, we talked about Patel being Houdini. He's going to have to perform a heck of a magic act to get to the end zone today.
Well, he needs to get some passes near the sidelines. That's the big thing, or get something completed. Hands up, throws, but this one is still in the field of play. Receiver couldn't get out of bounds. The receiver fell down in the field of play, so the clock continues to run. It's down to 14 seconds. That was Curtis Williams on the reception. 8 seconds, and he spikes the ball with 4 seconds to go. He's got 1 shot at the end zone.
All right,
remember, the game can't end on a defensive penalty.
Receivers.
You remember, the game cannot end on a defensive penalty. There's a U.S. Marine Corps players of the game. The stats on Mo Smith, he had 104 yards at halftime.
148 to end the game, 1 touchdown.
And Patel Troutman, 96 rushing yards.
4, 5, and 9 passing for 42 yards and 1 touchdown.
And again, he was in and out of the lineup. Troutman had 66 yards on first down. So
they got 5 receivers in the game right now, Charlie.
And of course, you've got to let it go just like they did just before halftime. Hopefully, maybe your man can come up with it. There's only 1 play left in this contest. Bethune trailing by 1. And we got a holding, but they haven't called anything, and he lets it fly. It's going to be short and incomplete, and the game is over. That's going to do it here from Daytona Beach as the Aggies of North Carolina A&T end a 2-year losing jinx to the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. They come away with a 1-point victory, 19-18. Bill Hayes gone to the middle of the field. The teams, I don't see Alvin Wyatt. And I think both coaches are out there. Bill Hayes.
There they are. There they are. They're both coaches right there.
Shaking hands right there at the middle of the field, and both teams are shaking hands. And it was a hard-fought game. Somebody had to win, somebody had to lose, and it was the Aggies who prevailed today by a point, 19-18. Back in a moment to wrap things up. Come away victorious by 1 over Bethune-Cookman, and our Jeff Brumlin is down on the sideline with Bill Hayes.
Bill, congratulations first on the victory. Do you feel that you escaped here this weekend? and you think you can play any better. Well, I know you probably think you can play better against FAMU in 2 weeks, a big game coming up.
Well, I'd just like to savor this victory today. I thought both teams played extremely well. Bethune Cookman really was scrappy, I'm telling you. But our kids prevailed in the end, and that's what the Aggie is all about.
Coach, your team really never had a sustained offensive drive in the ball game. What do you attribute that to?
Bethune Cookman is a solid football team. We've got some work to do still. This team has gotten better and better and better, but it kind of leveled off today. We've got to go back to the practice field and try to solve some of our mistakes, and I think we'll be fine.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you,
Charlie.
All right, Jeff, next week the Aggies at home against Dell State, then FAMU close out the season against South Carolina State in Charlotte. For Jeff Rumlin and Ronnie Duncan, Charlie Neal saying so long from Daytona Beach, 1918, the final from
Black Entertainment Television proudly presents a final showdown in the Southwest Airlines Capital City Classic. Today, from Mississippi Veterans Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi, it's the Braves of Alcorn State taking on the Jackson State Tigers. Hello, everybody. George Johnson along with Charles Mann. You figure for Jackson State, the important thing is to get out of this game healthy. After all, they're already headed to the first ever SWAC championship football game in December. But going in, they want to still have momentum. And most importantly, they do not want to lose to their rival, Alcorn State. And when you think about the Braves of Alcorn State, they've struggled. They've lost 4 straight coming in. How do they knock off one of the better teams in the conference?
They do it by having a balanced attack. This team has gotten too one-dimensional over the last several weeks, and that's why they've been losing ball games. And they get healthy today by getting Rodney Thomas into the game. He's only averaging 68.8 yards rushing per game. You got to get him over 100 yards if they want to be successful.
When you talk about running games, Jackson State has seen some great running backs, most notably the late, great Walter Payton. And yet, Destry Wright today is looking to break a whole bunch of records in school history.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, he is. He's looking to break his own record of last year with 108 yards rushing. But more importantly, he wants to get 158 yards rushing. That will make him Jackson State's all-time leading rusher in their history. And he does it today because last year against Alcorn, he was able to rush for 187 yards.
Talking about last year, the Braves looked up at the scoreboard with 11 minutes left in the first quarter and saw themselves down already 21-0. They're looking for a better showing in this one. So low, you have the freedom to go places. And by Circuit City, answers in every department, low prices all over the store. And by Western Union, money transfer, the fastest way to send money worldwide.